Chapter 111. Brother E, stop fighting. Xiao Guai saw that they were at daggers drawn and ran between them with tears in her eyes to stop them. Brother, stop fighting. If mommy finds out, she won't be happy. Xiao Bao stood on his tiptoes to look at the back row, and saw that his mother was also looking in their direction. He glared fiercely at Bailey. You're lucky. I won't argue with you today. Bailey raised his eyebrows slightly and said coldly, I don't have time to argue with you. If you have time, why don't you take care of your love-struck sister? Every time she saw him, she would enthusiastically rush over. He hated love-struck fools the most. Xiao Bao stomped his feet in anger and pointed at his nose. I'm warning you. Don't talk bad about my sister. Humph. Bailey snorted coldly and shrugged his small shoulders. With an indifferent look, he walked away without looking back. Oh my God, I'm so angry. Xiao Bao twisted his small body, intending to pounce over and fight with him. However, after pouncing for a long time, he didn't succeed because Xiao Guai hugged him from behind. Xiao Bao's soft little voice immediately calmed his anger. Brother, don't be angry. Let's put on a good show later and dress up that arrogant fellow. Xiao Bao was relieved and patted her head. Guy, you finally saw the true nature of that guy. From now on, you're not allowed to call anyone else brother other than brother. Yes. Xiao Guai rubbed against him ingratiatingly. Brother is the best. Xia Dong noticed that something seemed to have happened over at the children's side. She stood up and was about to walk over to take a look when Xiao Bao held Xiao Guai's hand and returned to their seats, so she sat down again. Bailey Han had already noticed her presence. However, Su Yunqian did not notice because she was tilting her head and talking to Bailey Han. Han, Xiaoyi is just a child. Don't be so angry with her. Bailey Han looked away from Xia Dong and said in a low voice, although he is young, he should be sensible. His mother is no longer around. Why can't he accept you? Su Yunqian said softly, in a child's heart, his mommy is irreplaceable. You shouldn't blame him. Bailey Han frowned. But this is unfair to you. Su Yunqian held his hand. I don't care. As long as you treat me well, that's enough. As for Xiao Yi, time will tell. I believe that he will accept me as time goes by. Bailey Han looked at her, and his eyes were filled with gratitude. Yunqian, thank you. Su Yunqian leaned on his shoulder, and Bailey Han hugged her waist. The two of them were so affectionate. Xia Dong, who was sitting in the front row, gripped the seat tightly with her fingers. She doubted Su Yunqian's words. Su Yunqian had once revealed her dislike for Xiao Yi in front of her. Would she really treat Xiao Yi well for Bailey Han's sake? Xia Dong closed her eyes helplessly. She wanted to protect the three children, but it was so difficult. The music started, and the performance officially began. The host went on stage and gave a long speech. The audience burst into thunderous applause. Next, let's enjoy the performance that Xiao Lingling from Class 1 has brought to us. A little girl in a princess dress went on stage and sang a song with a childish voice. Next was the second performance. A pair of twin sisters danced a folk dance. When the dance ended, the lights on the stage dimmed. It was Bailey Yi's turn to go on stage. After more than 10 seconds, a beam of light quickly moved to the center of the stage. There was a piano there. Sitting in front of the piano was Bailey Yi in a white tuxedo. Under the soft light, he was as charming as the Moonlight Prince. Bailey Yi's head was slightly lowered in concentration. His fingertips fell on the piano keys and beautiful notes slowly flowed out. It was the famous Moonlight song. His fingertips poured out a different kind of moonlight. The audience couldn't help but close their eyes and feel the charm of the moonlight. Below the stage, Bailey Han looked at his son with indescribable pride in his eyes. That was his son. His son was so outstanding that even he as a father couldn't believe it. Xia Dong was also proud, but more than that, she was bitter. She looked at the little person on stage with eyes full of affection. At the end of the song, thunderous applause resounded in every corner of the auditorium. Xia Dong's palms were red from clapping. Bailey Yi is indeed a genius student. Even the principal sitting in the judging panel couldn't help but praise him. Everyone's praises were endless, and the corners of Bailey Han's lips couldn't help but curve up. On the stage, Bailey Yi was neither anxious nor impatient. He elegantly walked to the front of the stage and courteously bowed to the audience. Then he straightened his body and proudly accepted everyone's praises. Xiao Bao's performance was later, so he hadn't gone backstage to prepare yet. Instead, he sat in the front row to watch the performance. Seeing that Bailey received cheers from the audience, he raised his chin in disdain and snorted. Humph, what's there to be proud of? It's just playing the piano. I can do it too. More than half of the performance went on. Finally, it was Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai's turn to go on stage. When they went on stage, everyone was shocked. Especially the children in the kindergarten who screamed, "Wow, so cute, so handsome. Conan, Conan, I love you. Oh, little prince, you can do it." Xiao Bao was wearing a black suit like the one Conan wore in Detective Conan. He wore a pair of suit shorts, a red bow tie around his neck, and a pair of large black-rimmed glasses perched on the bridge of his nose. Even his hairstyle was exactly the same as Conan's. He carried a large backpack and kicked a soccer ball as he jogged onto the stage. After he went on stage, he showed off his superb soccer skills to everyone. Seeing how he played the soccer ball in all kinds of ways, the children couldn't help but applaud. At this time, Xiao Guai, who was cosplaying as AIUNI, went on stage. He coolly spoke to Xiao Bao in Japanese. Behind the curtain, someone translated at the same time. The general idea was that monster thief Giddy had appeared and was going to steal the museum's treasures. Their mission was to protect the treasures and capture monster thief Giddy at the same time. The scene changed. Strange thief Gid was wearing a cloak and a mask. He stood on the rooftop against the wind. He moved his hand to his waist, and the glider immediately spread out. He flew up from the stage and into the museum. He stole the treasure under the strict watch of the police. Gid was on his way to the museum. Everyone's eyes widened. Xia Dong was sweating. Although she had tested it many times, she was still worried that an accident would happen while the hang glider was flying. Of course, this script wasn't the original Detective Conan. It was a cosplay drama that she had personally rewritten. Both Detective Conan and Giddy on stage were cosplayed by Xiao Bao. His calm and rational expression was just like Detective Conan. When he was cosplaying Giddy, he exuded a mysterious aura that made the little girls scream uncontrollably. Before the show ended, Detective Conan held AIUNI's hand and sang the theme song of the anime in Japanese. The children's screams reached a peak. After the show ended, Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai's show had the highest number of votes and won first place. Bailey won second place with a difference of 1 vote. Bailey was in a terrible mood. Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai happily held the first place trophy and went to Xia Dong's seat to look for her. Xia Dong stood up and hugged them. Su Yunqian's beautiful eyes suddenly widened, and her whole body froze. Xia Dong. It was actually Xia Dong. Wasn't she sold to another province by an assassin? Why was she here? Su Yunqian was so angry that she was about to go crazy. Bailey Yi's face was cold as he hugged the trophy for second place and came back. Su Yunqian suppressed her anger and tried to smile. Xiao Yi, your performance just now was great. Bailey Yi bit his lip and looked at the row of excited Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai in front of him. He was so depressed that he was about to cry. He didn't care about first place, but he was angry that Xia Xiaobao had beaten him. Bailey Han seemed to know what he was thinking and patted his head. Victory and defeat are common in war. You lost this time, but learn from your experience and strive for victory next time. Okay. Bailey nodded heavily. Han, the performance is over. Let's go home. Su Yunqian felt uncomfortable every time she saw Xia Dong. She wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. They were about to leave the auditorium when they suddenly heard Xiao Guai's anxious voice. Mommy, what's wrong? Bailey Han suddenly turned around and saw Xia Dong holding Xiao Guai's hand with one hand and holding the back of the chair with the other. Her face was pale and her body was trembling slightly. He knew that something was wrong. Her drug addiction was acting up. Damn it. Why did it act up 2 hours in advance? Xia Dong had calculated that the time would be just right after she sent the children home and rushed to Mika Kito's villa. However, she didn't expect the drug addiction to act up so early. When the children came back from receiving the award, she already felt that something was wrong. She resisted the urge to take them away, But she didn't expect Xiao Guai to discover that something was wrong. She quickly covered Xiao Guai's mouth and said in a low voice, "Mommy is fine. Mommy is just a little tired. Babies, let's go out quickly. Your Uncle Shun should be waiting at the school gate." Xiaobao looked at her worriedly and held Xiao Guai's hand. "Mom, I'll hold Xiao Guai's hand and leave. Be careful." Xia Dong nodded. She endured the discomfort all over her body and led the children out. It was so uncomfortable that sweat broke out on her forehead and her legs were trembling. She tried to walk out in a normal posture, but her body was still out of control. When she reached the door, she staggered and almost fell. Fortunately, a pair of arms supported her firmly. "Thank you." She gritted her teeth and looked up. She was stunned. Bailey Han. Bailey Han's expression was very ugly. His hands were stiff as he supported her. "Han." Su Yinqian watched as Bailey Han rushed forward and supported Xia Dong just as she was about to fall. Bailey Han only glanced at Su Yinqian hesitantly before turning his attention to Xia Dong. "Why isn't Mika Keto with you?" "Damn it. How could Mika Keto let her go out alone? Didn't he know that she could be in danger at any time?" "No, it has nothing to do with him." The little addict in Xia Dong's body woke up and scratched at her heart and lungs. It was so uncomfortable that it was difficult for her to even breathe, but she still insisted on pushing him away. She staggered away. Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai watched in horror, and reached out their little arms to support her legs. Bailey Han couldn't stand it anymore. He rushed forward and carried Xia Dong. Su Yinqian was shocked and took 2 steps back in disbelief. Bailey Han looked at Su Yinqian and said apologetically, "Yinqian, I'll take her back. You and Xiaoyi go home first. I'll explain it to you when I get home." Su Yinqian forced a smile and said, "Okay." Bailey Han looked at her deeply and carried Xia Dong away. Xia Dong grabbed his arm and begged in a low voice, "Please don't let the children see me like that." This was a kindergarten. How could she avoid the children's sight? Come and see. Songshu 566. Chapter 112. Bailey Han furrowed his brows as an idea popped into his mind. However, he would have to trouble Yin Qian again. He looked at Su Yinqian awkwardly and said, "Yin Qian, please take care of Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai. I'll come here to pick you up in an hour. Trust me." He emphasized the last 3 words with a lot of force. Su Yinqian's heart was already riddled with holes, but she still had a faint smile on her face. "Okay, I'll wait here for you to come back." Xia Dong dug her nails into her palms and endured the pain as she said to the children, "Bao Bao Gigai, wait here for Mommy. Mommy will be back soon." Xiao Guai pouted unhappily. Xiao Bao held her hand, put his finger to his lips and shushed her. Then he said, "Mom, come back quickly." After giving instructions, Bailey Han didn't stay any longer. He carried Xia Dong and rushed to the parking lot. When he left in the Rolls-Royce, Mika Keto was driving towards the school gate and happened to pass by the Rolls-Royce. Xiao Bao looked at Su Yinqian, whose face was ashen, and then looked at Bailey Yi, whose little face was cold and silent. Finally, he pulled Xiao Guai to sit on the bench by the flower bed. Xiao Guai shook his arm and said softly, "Brother, Mommy looks unwell. Will she be okay?" Xiao Bao patted her head. "Gigai, don't worry. Mommy will be fine." He lowered his eyes, his long eyelashes hiding the worry in his eyes. Ever since his mother came back, she had been acting strangely. What was she hiding from them? Su Yinqian took a deep breath and tried to calm down. "Xiao Yi, are you tired? Do you want to sit down and rest for a while?" Bailey Yi curled his lips. "No need. I don't want to sit in the same chair as that annoying guy. Hey, you loser. You're the annoying one. Your whole family is annoying." Xiao Bao stood up abruptly with her arms akimbo and her eyes wide open. "That's right, the whole family is annoying." Bailey Yi looked at him like he was an idiot. "Did I say you were the annoying guy? Don't take it personally, okay?" Xiao Bao was so angry that his face and neck were red. His little body rushed in front of him, and he pushed his chest fiercely. "Hey, I've long found you an eyesore. Let's fight. Let's fight. Who's afraid of who?" Bailey Yi raised his chin and puffed out his chest, looking insufferably arrogant. Su Yinqian had a headache. She couldn't care less about her ladylike image, and quickly stood between the two of them. You two don't fight. Auntie Yin Qian, this has nothing to do with you. Don't interfere. Bailey E impatiently waved her away. Auntie, go away. Don't be a busybody. Xiaobao rolled his eyes and pushed her away. This annoying woman dared to bully his mother. He had tolerated her for a long time. Auntie? The veins on Su Yinqian's forehead were throbbing. Damn it, this B*TCH's son dared to taunt her. Why was she still pretending to be a good person? Hurry up and leave. Let these two brothers fight to the death. That's right, that's it. Su Yinqian sneered and took a step back, leaving the battlefield to the two little guys. However, to prevent others from criticizing her for being irresponsible, she called out hypocritically, Xiao Yi, Xiaobao, don't fight. Fighting is wrong. Bailey E and Xiaobao saw her hypocritical look and rolled their eyes at the same time. Why are you copying me? Why are you copying me? The two little guys shouted at the same time and reached out their right hands to grab each other's collars. The two of them quickly started fighting. Xiao Guai anxiously shouted from the side, Brother E, stop fighting. Su Yinqian pretended to want to stop the fight, but didn't dare to. Bailey E snorted. While she wasn't paying attention, he kicked her calf, causing her to scream in pain. Xiaobao saw Bailey Yi's every move and raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect this guy to hate that bad woman Su Yinqian as much as he did. Xiaobao didn't want to be left behind. He quietly aimed at Su Yinqian's other leg and viciously kicked it. Su Yinqian screamed again. She clutched her leg in pain and took 2 steps back. She bent down to check on her injury. Xiaobao snickered. Bailey Yi looked at him in surprise. He pursed his lips provocatively and lowered his voice. Do you hate her too? Bailey Yi nodded. Xiaobao revealed a devilish smile and whispered, Push me in front of her. Bailey Yi's gaze swept over and he quickly reacted. He suddenly roared, Xia Xiaobao, you annoying person. Go to hell. He exerted force in his arms and pushed Xiaobao in front of Su Yinqian. Ah! Xiaobao screamed. Using Bailey Yi's push, he quickly and viciously slammed into Su Yinqian. Su Yinqian was bending over to check on her injury when she heard a scream. When she looked up, she saw a black shadow slamming into her. Before she could dodge, she was slammed to the ground by the black shadow. Crack. She heard the sound of her wrist being twisted. A sharp pain came from her wrist. It was so painful that she frowned. Oh, Auntie, I'm so sorry. Xiaobao twisted his hips and rolled on her stomach a few times before reluctantly jumping to the side. He looked uneasy. Auntie, are you okay? Let me help you up. Go away. Su Yinqian pushed him away in disgust. Although most of the people in the kindergarten had left, such a big commotion still alarmed a few passers-by. A teacher hurried over. Madam, are you okay? Su Yinqian quickly adjusted her expression and revealed a weak and helpless expression. My hand hurts. I think I twisted it. May I ask where the infirmary is? The female teacher helped her up sympathetically and said, I'll take you there. What about the children? We'll stay here. Xiaobao and Bailey Yi said in unison. Then they cast their gazes on Xiao Guai. She blinked her large eyes and said obediently, I'll stay here too. All right, don't move around. The teacher will bring your mommy back soon. This time the 3 children said in unison, Teacher, she's not our mommy. The teacher smiled awkwardly. Su Yinqian also smiled. Teacher, I'm their guardian. Let's go to the infirmary first. Damn it, her hand was hurting so much. Also, her leg was hurting too. Okay. The teacher supported the limping Su Yinqian and walked to the infirmary. As soon as they left, Bailey Yi and Xiaobao turned around angrily and ignored each other. Xiao Guai blinked her large eyes and giggled. Brother Yi, I saw it just now. You guys hurt that auntie on purpose. Xiaobao turned to look at her angrily. Xiao Guai, did you forget what you promised me? You're not allowed to call anyone other than me brother. Xiao Guai stuck out her tongue cutely. Sorry, I forgot. What should I call him? Bailey Yi? Whatever it is, you're not allowed to call him brother. Xiaobao said angrily. Bailey Yi looked at Xiao Guai coldly. You're not allowed to say anything. I won't say anything. Xiao Guai made a face. I don't like people that brother doesn't like. Xiaobao patted her head in relief. Brother, you're sweating a lot. Xiao Guai took out a clean handkerchief from her small bag and carefully wiped the sweat off his face. There was a sweet smile on her rosy cheeks. Brother, you look like a little kitten now. Don't make fun of me. Xiao Bao made a fierce face and brandished his claws. Xiao Guai was not afraid of him at all. Instead, she giggled. Childish. Bailey E snorted coldly. However, he could not hide the envy in his eyes. He had no siblings or friends. He never knew what it felt like to be close to people his age. Brother E, oh no Bailey E, you're sweating too. Let me help you wipe. Before Bailey E could object, a small figure was already standing in front of him. She reached out her arm and wiped the sweat off his face seriously. Xiao Guai, you're not allowed to wipe his face. Xiao Bao grabbed Xiao Guai's arm in exasperation. However, he did not use any force as he was afraid of hurting her. Xiao Guai rolled her eyes. Oh brother, you're so childish. I'm just wiping his sweat. Wiping sweat is a very serious action. No, I won't allow it. Alright, I won't wipe it then. Xiao Guai was speechless. She stuffed the handkerchief into Bailey Yi's hands. Bailey E, wipe it yourself. Bailey E held the handkerchief in a daze as he watched Xiao Bao angrily take Xiao Guai far away from him. He suddenly had a very strange feeling in his heart. Xiao Guai cupped her little face in her hands and asked eagerly, Brother, why isn't Mommy back yet? Uncle Shun said he was going to pick us up, but he hasn't shown up yet. Xiao Bao was worried, but he had a reassuring smile on his face as he patted her head. It's okay. Mommy will be back soon. Uncle Shun, she might have been delayed by something. Oh, Xiao Guai said gloomily. It's so boring sitting here. How can it be boring? Brother will tell you a joke. Xiao Bao grinned and made a face. Okay. Xiao Guai clapped her meaty palms. She rolled her eyes and suddenly looked at Bailey E. She said, Bailey E, my brother's jokes are really good. Come and listen too. I'm not listening. Bailey E turned his face away arrogantly, but his ears were secretly perked up. At this moment, Bailey Han had already brought Xia Dong to a private clubhouse closest to the kindergarten. He wrapped her head and face in a jacket and carried her in. After that he called Mika Kito. Hence, before Mika Kito could enter the kindergarten, she turned the car around and rushed to the private clubhouse as fast as she could. Waves of pain washed over her in waves. Xia Dong couldn't stop wailing. Fortunately, the room was soundproof. The two of them held her hands and legs down and stuffed a soft towel into her mouth. They anxiously waited for the drug addiction to pass. Half an hour later, the torture was finally over. Xia Dong stared blankly at the ceiling. After a few minutes, she came back to her senses and turned to look at Bailey Han. Bailey Han, thank you. Bailey Han's handsome face was enigmatic under the dim light. He looked like a ghost. He was unusually handsome, but also evil and cold. His lips moved. I just didn't want you to scare my son. Xia Dong grinned. This man obviously had a good heart, but he had to pretend to be cold and indifferent. Mika Kito was unhappy. She stepped forward and stood in front of Xia Dong. Xia, clean up first. We'll go to the kindergarten to pick up the child. Okay. Xia Dong got up with his help. The sound of running water came from the bathroom. Mika Kito looked at Bailey Han coldly. Bailey Han also looked at her coldly. Welfare Songshu 566. Chapter 113. Why did you leave her alone outside? Bailey Han's deep and cold eyes flashed with anger. You knew that she could be in danger at any time. Mika Kito clenched her fists and said with a cold face, What happened today was my fault. It won't happen again. He thought that he could rush back to accompany her before her drug addiction kicked in. But he didn't expect that God's plan would be different. Bailey Han glanced in the direction of the bathroom and said in a low voice, I'll bring the antidote tomorrow. Mika Kito interrupted him. No need. The antidote has already been flown over from Japan. It will arrive tonight. Bailey Han sneered. I thought double insurance would be safer. His words showed that he didn't trust him. Mika Kito's face darkened, and the temperature around her dropped sharply. In the end, Mika Kito reluctantly compromised. Although it was embarrassing to compromise with a love rival for Xia Dong's safety, double insurance was more reliable. When they returned to the kindergarten, Su Yinqian had already turned from an elegant goddess to a wounded patient. Her wrist was wrapped in thick gauze and her calf was bruised. When she saw Bailey Han, Su Yinqian immediately threw herself at him and sobbed. Bailey Han frowned. Why are you hurt? Is it serious? Bailey pursed his lips. What a pretentious girl. On the other side, Su Yinqian was crying. Xiaodong didn't want to make things difficult for her in front of her, so she and Bai Tangshan took the children home. Xiaodong's uncomfortable excuse could fool Xiao Guai, but it couldn't fool Xiao Bao. At night, Xiao Bao puffed up his cheeks and climbed into her bed. He said seriously, Mom, are you hiding something from me? Why did you suddenly feel unwell at the garden party? Xiaodong touched his head and said, Son, I am indeed hiding something from you, but it's a good thing. What is it? Xiaodong smiled and said, I'm pregnant. Your revenge plan is already half successful. Aren't you happy? Xiao Bao's eyes widened. Mom, are you pregnant? Yeah. If you're pregnant, your entire body will tremble, and you can't even walk properly? She nodded firmly. Of course. Back then, when I was pregnant with you and Gigai, I had a stronger reaction than this. She made up a lot of lies and finally managed to fool him. After leaving the kindergarten, Bailey Han drove Su Yinqian to the hospital. The examination confirmed that her wrist was severely sprained, and she needed to rest for a week. Su Yinqian gritted her teeth in hatred. Damn it, it was all because of those two brats that she sprained her left wrist. She would take her revenge after she married Bailey Han. When they returned to the villa, Bailey Han personally opened the car door for her and helped her upstairs. Su Yinqian leaned into his arms, weak and weak. She bit her red lips and hesitated to speak. Han, you said you would explain. Bailey Han held her shoulders, his handsome face serious and serious. Yinqian, something happened to Xiaodong. You can understand it this way. She's sick. When she's sick, her symptoms are quite scary. I didn't want to scare others, so I sent her home. Sick. It should be the drug addiction acting up. Su Yinqian sneered in her heart, but her face showed some uneasiness. She said, her illness isn't serious, right? Bailey Han's eyes darkened and his voice was calm. It's not serious. Su Yinqian lay in his arms and smiled brightly. That's good. You don't blame me? Bailey Han stroked her long hair. Of course. I was so angry at that time. I thought you and her had an ambiguous relationship. Su Yinqian looked up at him coquettishly and poked his chest with her uninjured hand. Tell me the truth. How do you know so much about her? Is there really nothing between you two? Bailey Han looked down at her slender fingers. His long eyelashes covered the complicated look that flashed across his eyes. He held her hand and said in a low voice, Since I've decided to spend the rest of my life with you, how can I have an ambiguous relationship with another woman? Su Yinqian chuckled and lay on his chest. Her heart was bitter. What he felt for her was no longer love, but responsibility. As long as they didn't get married, she wouldn't be at ease. A ruthless look flashed across her eyes. Since that B*TCH Xiaodong was back, she had to start the follow-up plan. Mika Kito had been tracking down the people who kidnapped Xiaodong, and the mastermind behind it. He suspected that the mastermind behind this incident was the same person who had released the video last time. After sending Xiaodong and the children home, he returned to his villa. His tall body leaned against the sofa and he asked Jiang Dao coldly, How did it go? According to the description of the villagers in Kilagu, I drew the portraits of the two human traffickers. Jiang Dao unfolded a picture in his hand and showed it to Bai Tangshan as he explained. The traffickers are a man and a woman. The man is around 30 years old, with a height of 175 to 180 centimeters, and he's slightly plump. The woman is also about 30 years old, 165 to 170 centimeters tall, and average-looking. She doesn't have any special features. Mika Kito glanced at the drawing and sneered. Jiang Dao, as a professional killer, will you show your true face when carrying out a mission? Jiang Dao shook his head honestly. No. Mika Kito's slender fingers tapped on the drawing. So they also concealed their true faces. The only thing we can find out is their height. Jiang Dao's eyes flashed and he suddenly said, That man is left-handed and likes to chew gum. The villagers said that he never stopped chewing from the moment he got off the car until he left. Mikakito tapped her fingers even faster. We can deduce two things. First, he has this hobby. Second, he is trying to quit smoking. His face darkened and he said, "Now that we have narrowed down the scope of our search, make a list of his characteristics and ask our friends in the underworld. I want to get the news as soon as possible." Yes. Jiang Dao bowed and left. Mikakito called Lu Xing in. Lu Xing had handsome features, but his expression was cold. He stood straight with his hands behind his back. Mikakito looked at him and said in a low voice, "Lu Xing, I'll give you one more chance. Protect Xia Dong 24/7. If she gets hurt again, you don't have to come and see me again." Understood. Lu Xing bowed stiffly. At the Su family's villa, Su Xingchen leaned comfortably on the soft bed. There were more than 10 pictures on the mattress in front of her, all of which were secretly taken when Xia Dong's drug addiction kicked in. Her lips curved into a strange smile. In this world, there was no impenetrable castle. She only spent a sum of money to kidnap the son of Xia Dong's nanny and made the nanny Gigai work for her. She raised her eyebrows. If she wanted to use Xia Dong to control Su Yinxian, she had to let Brother Han know that Su Yinxian was behind the kidnapping of Xia Dong. When Brother Han saw through Su Yinxian's true colors, would he still love her? Su Xingchen chuckled. She changed her SIM card and dialed a number. She laughed coquettishly. "Godfather, it's so late and you're still awake?" A man's low voice came from the other side of the phone. "My precious goddaughter is looking for me. Even if I'm asleep, I have to wake up quickly." Su Xingchen rolled on the bed and laughed heartily. "Godfather, you're so good to me. I like you the most." She kissed the man on the phone screen twice. "Godfather, are the two killers you arranged for Su Yinxian reliable?" The man was in his 40s and had a handsome face. He looked calm and capable, and there was an unfathomable shrewdness in his deep eyes. He laughed softly. "Of course they're reliable. Why? Are you going to reel in the net?" Su Xingchen pouted. "Of course. Otherwise, the man I love will be snatched away by her." The man shook his head and looked at her affectionately. "What's so good about Bailey Han that you treat him like this? Why don't Godfather introduce you to a few outstanding men?" She stuck out her tongue. I don't want them. I like him." Okay. As long as you like him, Godfather will definitely help you get him. I like Godfather the most. Godfather, I think Mikakito will find some clues soon. Don't forget to give him some hints." The man smiled gently. "Okay, Godfather knows what to do." She acted coquettishly for a while more before hanging up the phone. She rolled around on the bed happily. Having learned her lesson from the day before, Xia Dong did not dare to delay after work. She got into the car that Mikakito had sent to pick her up and went to Mikakito's villa. She left the task of picking up the children to Jiang Dao. At the same time, Bailey Han was holding a department meeting. When it was close to 6 o'clock, he looked up from time to time to check the time. The marketing director was writing a long report on the market development. Bailey Han knocked on the table and interrupted him. "That's all for today's meeting. Redo your report. I want concise and comprehensive data, not long and flowery words." When Bailey Han rushed to Mikakito's villa with the antidote, Xia Dong's drug addiction had already kicked in. She had already taken the antidote from Japan, but it could not completely remove the toxins in her body. It could only temporarily suppress the effects of the drug. Although she still felt terrible, she was much better than before. She could even joke around. With a pale face, she said, "Brother Shen, it looks like I'll have to be your slave in my next life to repay you for saving my life." Mikakito ruffled her hair and said in a hoarse voice, "You don't have to be my slave. As long as you repay me with your body, I'll be grateful." Xia Dong laughed. "Brother Shen, your Chinese is better than mine. You're fluent in idioms." Mikakito hugged her and whispered, "Don't say anything if you're feeling terrible. My heart aches when I see you like this." Bailey Han stood at the door. He suddenly felt that he was unnecessary. He put the antidote on the shelf at the entrance and turned to leave without saying goodbye. Xia Dong looked over Mikakito's shoulder and saw Bailey Han's back. Under the setting sun, she felt inexplicably lonely. When Mikakito heard the footsteps, he naturally knew that Bailey Han had come. When he heard the footsteps leave, he ruffled Xiaodong's hair and said softly, "You did it on purpose." "I just don't want to owe him anything. I already owe him too much." Xiaodong didn't look too good. She leaned into his arms tiredly. Mikakito's gaze was deep and sharp. "In my opinion, he's the one who let you down." Xiaodong smiled bitterly. "Brother Shen, what happened back then wasn't what you think. He didn't let me down. He just wanted me to fulfill my promise. It was my promise that if I gave birth to a son, I would hand him over to Bailey's family to raise." Every time they talked about this issue, she would say the same thing. When he asked her for the reason, she wouldn't say anything. A hint of bitterness flashed across Mikakito's eyes, but he still had a gentle smile on his face. "Forget it. Let's not talk about those unhappy things. Yesterday, Xiaobao won the first prize of the garden party. I promised to take him and Xiao Guai to Rome to visit Godfather during the summer vacation." Xiaodong was worried. Can Xiao Guai's body take it? Attention Songshu 566. Chapter 114. Mikakito stroked her hair. "I was just about to discuss this with you. I want to take you to Rome to nurse your baby, and Xiao Guai to stay in Rome for treatment. Let's get away from this troublesome place. What do you think?" Xiaodong bit her lip. "Brother Shen, let me think about it. I've thought about going to Rome to nurse my baby after I successfully stole the seed. But now, my career has just started and I suddenly realized that my existence can change the fate of many people. My job has become more meaningful. Frankly speaking, I don't want to leave. Most importantly, my family and friends are all here. I know all this. We're just staying in Rome temporarily. We'll come back after you give birth and Xiao Guai recovers." Xiaodong hesitated. "Brother Shen, I want to think about it again." "Okay, think about it carefully. No matter what decision you make, I'll support you." "Brother Shen, thank you." "Silly, I've said before that I don't want to hear those words." Xiaodong's eyes were full of smiles. "I'll remember it." "You're welcome." Mikakito looked down at her smile. His eyes were full of smiles and doting. Mikakito's investigation soon came to a conclusion. Jiang Dao entered the office with 2 photos. "Boss, we've found out the identities of the killers. The man's nickname is White Tiger, and he's good at disguising and escaping. The woman's nickname is Suzaku, and she's ranked 3rd on the list of killers in a city. Suzaku and White Tiger have been partners for many years. One is responsible for killing, and the other is responsible for escaping. They've never failed." Mikakito picked up the 2 photos on the table. White Tiger's face was covered by a beard. His shrewdness could only be seen through his cold and cunning eyes. As for Suzaku, she really didn't look like a killer. She was beautiful, charming, and eye-catching. But like Poppy, the more charming she was, the more dangerous she was. Mikakito's lips curved into a cold smile. His voice was bone-chilling. "I want all their information, including their 3 generations of ancestors. I'll give you 2 days to find them. This time, I'll find out who's behind this." Mikakito's people were busy searching for White Tiger and Suzaku's whereabouts. Su Yunqian did not stay idle either. She bribed one of Su Yunqian's private investigators and passed the photos of Xiaodong's drug addiction to Su Yunqian. Of course, Su Yunqian would not miss this opportunity to destroy Xiaodong. She used an overseas server to upload the photos online. As soon as the photo was released, Beitang Shen's men discovered it. Ever since the video incident, they had been keeping a close eye on the internet, waiting for the mastermind to show his tail. With sufficient preparation, they weren't in a hurry. Before the photo was released, they had already controlled the situation and tracked the mastermind's tracks. 2 days passed. Mikakito was having a meeting at Boao Group. Jiang Dao suddenly walked up to him and bent down to whisper something in his ear. Mikakito's lips curved into a strange smile. He stood up in a good mood. "Today's meeting is over. Thank you for your hard work." Everyone was flattered and stood up. "Thank you for your hard work, President." Mikakito straightened his suit jacket and strode out. He exuded a domineering aura. As he walked past, The employees made way for him and bowed their heads respectfully. Jiang Dao followed closely behind. After leaving the building, Jiang Dao jogged to the car and opened the door for him. Mikakito walked in and asked, "Where are they now?" "I just brought them back to the villa at Repulse Bay." Mikakito patted Jiang Dao's shoulder and smiled eerily. "Jiang Dao, you did well." Jiang Dao's heart skipped a beat. Boss's devilish smile was on his face. Someone was going to be in trouble. Repulse Bay Villa was another villa owned by Mikakito. As it was far from Xiaodong's house, he rarely stayed here. There were no large groups of servants in the villa. There was only a deaf and mute old man in charge of cleaning and feeding the dog. Mikakito went straight to the basement. To be more precise, it was a prison cell. As soon as he entered the basement, the strong smell of blood mixed with the stench of decay hit him in the face. It was nauseating. Under the glaring light, 2 badly mutilated bodies were tied to the wall by iron chains. Their faces were stained with blood. Judging from their figures, the one on the left was a man, and the one on the right was a woman. Seeing Mikakito enter, someone immediately pushed a chair over and placed it 5 meters away from the 2 men. Mikakito sat down and crossed his arms. He looked at the 2 men with an expressionless face. "White Tiger, Suzaku, I'm sorry to interrupt your trip to Vanuatu. Let's talk about the case you recently took on." Jiang Dao walked over to them with Xiaodong's photo and showed it to them. Mikakito said coldly, "You touched my woman. I want to know who your employer is." White Tiger spat out the bloody gum in his mouth and grinned. "You've got the wrong person. We don't even know her." Mikakito's sharp gaze swept over. White Tiger, real name Li Hu, 32 years old, has committed 45 crimes. Murder, kidnapping, theft, and trafficking of women. Jiang Dao, tell me, what kind of punishment will such a sinful person receive? Jiang Dao spat out 2 words coldly. "Death by shooting." White Tiger laughed. "Ever since I chose this path, I've never been afraid of death." "Is that so?" Mikakito's lips curled into a cruel smile. "I wonder if your parents in your hometown have the same thoughts?" White Tiger's bloodstained body froze. Suzaku suddenly sneered. "Boss Beitang, you're really something. You even know our background. Then you must know that there are rules in our line of work. We never reveal our employer's information." Her blood-stained face turned to White Tiger and stared at him sharply. White Tiger gritted his teeth and lowered his head. He did not speak. Mikakito suddenly stood up and walked over to Suzaku. She met his gaze arrogantly, cold and determined. He sneered. "Suzaku, no parents. You grew up in an orphanage. You don't seem to have any flaws." Suzaku looked back at him coldly. "Mikakito, I advise you not to waste your time on us." "No, why would it be a waste of time?" Mikakito waved his hand. Jiang Dao took out a photo and handed it to Suzaku. She glanced at it, and her pupils constricted. Mikakito observed her reaction and said expressionlessly, "She's the director of the orphanage, Lin Qingxiu. She's 54 years old this year." Director Lin said that she still remembers that 25 years ago, she picked up a baby girl who was less than a year old at the entrance of the orphanage. She named the baby girl Lin Wuyu, because she hoped that the child could grow up without any worries. Am I right? Suzaku or Lin Wuyu? Suzaku said coldly. So Boss Beitang is good at telling stories. I'm impressed. Mikakito pinched her chin. His gloomy eyes were frighteningly cold. My patience is limited. I don't have time to beat around the bush with you. Tell me who the employer is. Otherwise, he glanced at White Tiger coldly, his parents and Director Lin will leave this world before you. Suzaku looked at him with hatred. She gritted her teeth and did not say a word. White Tiger hung his head lifelessly and did not say a word. Very well. It seems that you won't give up until you see the coffin, Jiang Dao. Mikakito shook off Suzaku's chin and wiped the blood on his fingers with a handkerchief. Jiang Dao waved his hand. Someone came in with a laptop and opened a video file. An elderly couple was tied to a chair. Their mouths were stuffed with rags. They stared at the camera in horror. The camera panned down. A small time bomb was tied to their calves. The timer showed that there was 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 6 seconds left. The ticking sound of the timer rang in the silent room. White Tiger was frightened. He looked at his elderly parents on the screen. His eyes were filled with pain and confusion. The scene changed. The main characters of the video were the children of the orphanage. They were laughing and jumping happily. They pushed the director of the orphanage in front of the camera. The director smiled kindly. "Wu Yu, I'm relieved to hear that you're doing well. I told you that I shouldn't disturb you. Your friend is very enthusiastic. He insisted that I follow him to stay at your place for a few days." Suzaku slowly closed her eyes and stopped watching the video. Mikakito said coldly, "You have 1 hour and 30 minutes to think. Once the time is up, the bomb will explode and Director Lin will meet with an accident on her way out of the orphanage." After saying this, Mikakito left with his men without looking back. Only White Tiger and Suzaku were left in the spacious basement. The ticking sound of the time bomb on the laptop could be heard. Drip, 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 drip. The sound of the drip beat on their hearts. Mikakito looked at the two silent people on the monitor. He leaned back and lay comfortably on the chair. Jiang Dao hesitated for a moment and asked, "Boss, will this trick work?" Mikakito said coldly, "As long as they have a weakness, it will work. Their family is their weakness." When he was negotiating with them, he could tell that they were cold-blooded but not heartless enough. They couldn't let go of their feelings. "Boss, if they confess, how should we deal with them?" Mikakito looked at Jiang Dao domineeringly. "What do you think?" No matter what the reason was, anyone who dared to touch his woman must die. Jiang Dao wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. He felt that he had asked a stupid question. Time ticked by. Through the monitor, it could be seen that White Tiger was becoming more and more restless. Its slightly plump body was twisting and turning. Although Vermilion Bird was still calm, her clenched fists revealed her nervousness at the moment. 10 minutes left. 5 minutes left. White Tiger finally couldn't take it anymore. He turned to Suzaku. "Suzaku, let's admit defeat." Vermilion Bird's face was covered in blood, and it was already impossible to see her face. She bit her lips tightly, and even when she tasted the taste of blood, she still refused to let go. There were still 3 minutes left. 2 minutes later, the sound of water splashing could be heard in the video. It turned out that White Tiger's parents were so frightened that they lost control of their bowels. White Tiger's shoulders trembled and he shouted, "Mikakito, I know you're there. Come out. I'll tell you everything. Let go of my parents now." Tick-tock, tick-tock. The timer was still ringing. 1 minute, 50 seconds. White Tiger was on the verge of breaking down. He shouted hysterically, "Mikakito, let go of my parents. Let them go. I beg you. I'm begging you." 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 10 seconds. The screen suddenly changed. Principal Lin said goodbye to the children and walked out of the orphanage with her luggage. Not far away, an unlicensed car was speeding in her direction. Come and see. Songshu 566. Chapter 115. Suzaku's eyes widened in horror as she screamed frantically, "I'll talk! I'll talk! Stop! Stop!" 2 seconds, 1 second. Just as Director Lin was scared silly by the menacing car, the person beside her pushed her away from the roaring car like lightning. At the same time, the car suddenly turned the steering wheel, turned into a small alley and quickly disappeared. The video cut to White Tiger's parents, and the timer stopped at 0.01 seconds. Although the bomb did not explode, his parents had already fainted from the shock. White Tiger and Suzaku were trembling in fear. Mikakito's crisp footsteps were heard, and his tall figure appeared in front of them. He said expressionlessly, "You can tell me now. Who ordered you to do this?" White Tiger looked at the computer screen nervously. "Before we tell you, we have to ensure their safety." Mikakito waved his hand, and Jiang Dao took out his phone and said a few words in Japanese. After a few seconds, a man wearing a mask appeared on the screen. He removed the bomb tied to White Tiger's parents' legs and stuffed something into their mouths. White Tiger looked up at Mikakito. Mikakito said indifferently, "Don't be nervous. That drug was only used to make them forget this unpleasant memory." Suzaku sneered, erasing their memories and cleaning up the scene without leaving any clues. "Mikakito, you're so smart." Beitangshin didn't care about her sarcastic tone at all. His gaze fell on her indifferently. As for your principal Lin, because an accident almost happened, your friend deeply apologized and asked her to rest for a while before visiting you. Are you satisfied with my arrangements? I'm satisfied. I couldn't be more satisfied. Suzaku sighed. Mika Kito, I admit defeat. Mika Kito leaned back comfortably in his chair. Very well. Now let's talk about what you know. Remember, don't play any tricks. If I can threaten you once, I can threaten you a second time. White Tiger quickly exchanged glances with Suzaku, and there was a look of submission in his eyes. The vermilion bird closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, they were already cold. Under the contrast of the blood that filled her eyes, she appeared extremely cold. She slowly said, Su Yinqian. I once heard the employer's name from the middleman. Her name is Su Yinqian. Mika Kito's eyes narrowed. Are you talking about Su Yinqian, the daughter of Su Bolin? Su Yinqian must be rich to be able to pay 2 million to hire an assassin. There were many people with the same name in this world, but there was only one rich Su Yinqian. Mika Kito narrowed her eyes, and there was a dangerous glint in her eyes. I want to know more details. Suzaku said. In the beginning, the employer wanted to create an accident to get rid of Miss Ya's baby. White Tiger and I did a lot of things, but Miss Ya was very lucky and escaped all of them. Mika Kito was shocked. Damn it. Only a few people knew about Xia's pregnancy. Where did Su Yinqian find out about it? Did Bailey Han find out? Later, the employer said that she wanted to change the plan. She wanted us to kidnap Miss Ya and sell her to a poor and remote place. Then she would become addicted to drugs. Suzaku narrated the story emotionlessly, but Mika Kito was furious. Su Yinqian was too vicious. Drugs, poverty, and a deformed child. She wanted Xia to live in pain and despair for the rest of her life. He suppressed his anger and stared coldly at Suzaku. Who is your middleman? Suzaku said calmly, I can't say. Mika Kito stared at her coldly. After a few seconds, he suddenly stood up and said coldly, I can let go of the middleman, but I don't believe you. You have to confront Su Yinqian face to face. Okay. Suzaku was relieved that he gave in. If she dared to betray the middleman, she wouldn't be any better than she was now. Mika Kito walked out of the basement and sat in the back seat of the car. He dialed Bailey Han's number. To be honest, he wanted to see Bailey Han's expression when he found out that Su Yinqian was the mastermind. What a pity. As soon as the call connected, Beitangshin briefly explained the situation. Of course, he did not mention that Xia Dong was pregnant. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the phone. Then, Bailey Han said coldly, Yinqian would never do such a thing. Mika Kito sneered. I knew you would say that. So I'll give you and Su Yinqian a chance to argue. I'll take you to see the two killers at 8 o'clock tonight. After hanging up the phone, Bailey Han stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window in his office. Looking at the tall buildings outside, he suddenly felt depressed. He didn't believe that Su Yinqian would do such a thing. In his eyes, she had always been elegant and kind. It was impossible for her to do such a vicious thing. Linda, inform all the departments that the afternoon meeting will be postponed to tomorrow. I'm going out. Bailey Han informed Linda, through the internal phone. He straightened his coat and walked out quickly. Hello, Mr. Bailey. In the Su group, Su Yinqian's assistant was surprised and stood up to greet him. The director is in a meeting. She'll be back soon. I'll wait for her in the office. Bailey Han's face was cold, and his deep eyes were full of a terrifying aura. No one dared to look at him directly. Okay. The assistant quickly opened the office door. Please come in. What would you like to drink? Coffee or tea? Black coffee, no sugar. Okay, please wait a moment. Su Yinqian walked out of the meeting room. Her left wrist was still bandaged. The assistant hurried forward and whispered, Director, Mr. Bailey has been here for half an hour. He's waiting for you in your office. Su Yinqian raised her eyebrows. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Mr. Bailey said not to disturb your meeting. Okay, I see. She had already thought of a way to turn the tables, but the risk was very high. Su Yunqian's lips curled into a strange smile. However, if the risk wasn't high, how could it be exciting? At 8 o'clock in the evening, Jiang Dao drove to the predetermined location and picked up Bailey Han and Su Yunqian. When they arrived at the Repulse Bay Villa, Mikakito had also just arrived. He had just accompanied Xia Dong through her drug addiction at her house and rushed over. He didn't hide the existence of the basement, and directly brought the two of them into the basement. As soon as they walked into the basement, Su Yunqian couldn't help but frown at the unpleasant smell. The light was very glaring, illuminating every corner clearly. Bailey Han glanced at White Tiger and Suzaku, who were chained to the wall. Su Yunqian appeared to be a little timid as she held onto Bailey Han's arm delicately. Bailey Han patted the back of her hand comfortingly, indicating that she shouldn't be afraid. Mikakito looked meaningfully at Su Yunqian before finally looking at Suzaku. Suzaku, this is Su Yunqian, Miss Su, the employer you mentioned. Now that she's standing in front of you, what do you want to say to her? Suzaku was silent for 2 seconds before she said, Miss Su, I'm sorry. I have to betray you for the people I want to protect. Attention, Shinwu 799. Chapter 116. Su Yunqian was stunned. But I don't even know you. I don't know what you're talking about. Suzaku said, on June 30th, you issued a mission through a middleman. Within 5 days, you were to create an accident and cause Miss Xia Dong to lose her child. Wait a minute. What do you mean by lose the child? Bailey Han suddenly interrupted Suzaku. Suzaku was about to answer when Mikakito beat her to it and said, Xia is pregnant. Bailey Han's eyes narrowed. She was pregnant? Whose child was it? He immediately thought of what happened that night at Charm Club. They didn't take any precautions. Could it be? He was nervous and uneasy, but there was also a hint of anticipation. Damn it, what was he anticipating? He was about to marry Su Yunqian, and she already had a fiancé. Mikakito seemed to see through his thoughts. She smiled and said, Xia didn't want to have a child so soon. I wanted her to give the baby and Gigai a younger brother or sister. Alright, Suzaku, continue. So it was Mikakito's child. Bailey Han's nervous fist slowly relaxed, but he felt a little uncomfortable. Su Yunqian was also suspicious. She was originally certain that Xia Dong was pregnant with Bailey Han's child, but after hearing Mikakito's words, she was a little doubtful. However, she didn't dwell on it for long. She still focused on Suzaku. After the small interlude, Suzaku continued. In the past 5 days, we created many accidents, but Miss Xia avoided all of them. After Miss Xia heard this, she changed her plan. She asked us to kidnap Miss Xia and sell her to another province. She also asked the middleman to give us a box of medicine and let us inject it into Miss Xia. Su Yunqian frowned and said, Your name is Suzaku, right? Suzaku, I think what you said is full of loopholes. If I was really the employer, I wouldn't let anyone know my identity. How did you know that I was the employer? Suzaku said, according to the rules of this line of work, killers accept missions through the middleman. They wouldn't know the employer's identity, but I have a good relationship with the middleman, so he felt that it wouldn't matter if he told me. Su Yunqian smiled. Did your middleman tell you the employer's identity before? Vermilion Bird paused. No. Su Yunqian stared into her eyes. Then why did you tell me the employer's identity this time? Don't you think it's strange? Or should I say, this is a scam? You want to frame me? Suzaku's voice turned cold. No, the middleman wouldn't do such a thing. In our line of work, reputation is the most important thing. The middleman wouldn't ruin his own reputation. Bailey Han said in a low voice. Who is your middleman? Ask him to come over and explain it clearly. Impossible. Suzaku refused without thinking. I've already reached my limit by betraying the employer. If I betray the middleman, not only will White Tiger and I lose our lives, even our relatives won't have a good ending. Su Yunqian said considerately, since that's the case, we won't force you. But you have to show evidence to prove that what you said is true. Suzaku smiled. Miss Su, I remember that you transferred the money to us. Why don't you ask Mr. Beitang to check your account? Su Yinqian smiled. Sure, Mr. Beitang. If you need, I can give you all my bank accounts. There's no need. Mikakito spat out these 3 words coldly and signaled to Jiang Dao with her eyes. Jiang Dao took out a piece of detailed account information from the folder in his hand. Jiang Dao explained. We checked the account that transferred the money to Suzaku. The person who opened the account is Yi Qing. Miss Su must know her because she's a servant in Miss Su's house. Su Yinqian was shocked. How could this be? Sister Yi wouldn't do such a thing. Mikakito sneered. Of course Yi Qing wouldn't hire someone to kidnap Xia Xia. It's just that her account was stolen. Su Yinqian said unhappily. What do you mean? Are you suspecting that I used Sister Ye's account? Mikakito glanced at her coldly. It's not a suspicion. It's the truth. Bailey Han stepped forward and stood side by side with Su Yinqian to confront Mikakito. Mr. Beitang, since you also said that Yi Qing's account was stolen, that person might not necessarily be Yin Qian. Please show us more concrete evidence. Mikakito's sharp gaze swept over Suzaku. Suzaku bit her lip and her eyes suddenly lit up. There's another way. The small metal box containing the medicine was handed to the middleman by the employer, who then handed it to me. The middleman wore gloves when he handed it to me. Every time I touched it, I also wore gloves. If we check for fingerprints, we might be able to find the employer. Mikakito's expression changed. Many people had touched the box, including Wang Fugue and the others who were far away in Chili Valley. If they wanted to check the fingerprints one by one, it would definitely take a long time. Bailey Han also considered this problem and frowned. Is there any other evidence? Suzaku racked her brains, but could not think of any other evidence. White Tiger suddenly shouted excitedly, Photo, Miss Ya's photo. Suzaku also became excited after he reminded her. Yes, the middleman gave us a photo of the target, and said that it was sent by the employer. There must be the employer's fingerprints on it. Su Yunqian's eyes moved. What photo? She was worried that there would be clues left behind. So she sent an electronic photo to her godfather. How could there be any fingerprints left? Mikakito asked. Where's the photo? White Tiger quickly said. It's in my bag. The bag White Tiger was talking about was the luggage he carried when he was caught by Mikakito's men. Hearing this, Jiang Dao immediately ran out of the basement. After a few minutes, he came back with his luggage. It's in the innermost pocket. White Tiger felt lucky that he did not throw away Xiaodong's photo. Wearing rubber gloves, Jiang Dao took out Xiaodong's photo from the bag. Mikakito nodded, and Jiang Dao immediately took the photo to someone to get the fingerprints on it. Mikakito whispered something to the person next to her. The person immediately put on a pair of gloves and brought over a clean glass. Miss Su, please leave your fingerprints. Su Yinqian looked at Bailey Han awkwardly. Bailey Han comforted her. Yinqian, don't be afraid. Leave your fingerprints. After they compare your fingerprints, they can prove your innocence. Su Yinqian gritted her teeth. She felt that this matter was a bit strange. Although she was sure that she did not give her godfather Xiaodong's photo. What if someone framed her, and the fingerprints matched? Mikakito saw her hesitation. She stared at her with sharp eyes like a hawk and said coldly, Miss Su, can I take it that you don't dare to leave your fingerprints because you feel guilty? Of course not. She immediately showed a charming smile. Why wouldn't I dare? I didn't do anything wrong. She elegantly held the glass. Mikakito sneered and said lightly, Thank you for your hard work today. I'll let you know when the results are out tomorrow. Bailey Han nodded and left the villa with Su Yinqian. He drove her to the door and glanced at her left wrist. Yinqian, how's the injury on your hand? She smiled. It's not very painful. Han, do you want to sit in my room? Bailey Han leaned over and kissed her forehead. No, you're tired. Rest early. Say hello to Uncle and Auntie for me. Okay. She hugged him and said softly, Han, you have to believe me. I really didn't do it. I know. Bailey Han's lips curved. I believe you. He opened the car door for her and held her hand like a gentleman. Go in. Don't think too much. Su Yinqian nodded and waved her hand with a smile. On the other hand, Xiaodong had been able to suppress the drug addiction in her body with the antidote. When the drug addiction kicked in, it was far less painful than before, so she didn't have to find an excuse to sneak out to avoid the children. When the drug addiction kicked in, she locked herself in the room. Mikakito insisted on accompanying her. She couldn't persuade him, so she had to listen to him. However, she did feel more at ease with him by her side. That day, after Mikakito accompanied her through the drug addiction, he said that he had something to do and left in a hurry. She didn't ask. After taking a shower, she played with the two little guys on the sofa for a while. She touched Xiaoguai's head and asked, "Gigai, what if Mommy takes you to Rome to play with God, Grandpa?" "Okay." Xiaoguai clapped his little hands happily. "I haven't seen God, Grandpa, for a long time. I miss him so much. Then let's go to God, Grandpa, in a few days." Xiaodong thought about Mikakito's words for a long time and finally made a decision. Someone in City A wanted to harm her. Before she cured Xiaoguai, she'd better leave. Xiaobao blinked his big eyes. "Mom, how long will we be gone?" Xiaodong smiled. "More than 10 months. Ah. Xiaoguai's pink little face immediately fell. "But I can go back to kindergarten in 10 months. I want to go back to kindergarten. I don't want to stay in Rome for so long." Xiaodong rubbed her cheek against her daughter's little face and said with a smile, "Don't worry, Mommy will definitely take you back to kindergarten." Xiaoguai pouted. "Then what about brother? Brother only has 2 months of summer vacation." Xiaobao's mind worked quickly. He soon understood why his mother wanted to take them away for 10 months. It must be to treat Gigai's illness. Thus, he shrugged indifferently. "I'm fine. I'll go wherever you guys are. It's the same to study in Rome." Xiaoguai was moved to tears. "Brother, you're the best." Xiaodong ruffled her son's hair. "Son, you're the best." "Pff, Mom, don't be like Xiaoguai. I'm going to be shocked to death by you." Xiaobao shook his little shoulders exaggeratedly and made an expression that said he couldn't stand it. Xiaodong pinched his little face angrily. "Why is it that when I say the same thing, it's like thunder rolling in the sky, but when Xiaoguai says it, it makes you so happy?" Xiaobao rolled his eyes at her. "You're not as cute as Gigai. Wow, you evil brat." Xiaoguai giggled. Attention, Hongcha 866. Chapter 117. Repulse Bay Villa. Mikakito stared coldly at Su Yinqian. She raised a test report in her right hand and announced the results. "As you can see, the fingerprints on the photo are the same as Miss Su's fingerprints on the glass." "No, that's impossible." Su Yinqian grabbed the test report excitedly and quickly scanned the results. She shook her head in disbelief. "This is impossible. I didn't touch the photo at all, and I didn't give it to the kidnappers. You're framing me." Yinqian calmed down. Bailey Han comforted her and took the test report from her hand. After reading it carefully, he stared sharply at Mikakito. "Yinqian's suspicion is right. You asked someone to do this report. Only you know the truth." Mikakito crossed her arms and sneered. "You think I'm framing Su Yinqian? Why would I do that?" Bailey Han's words were sharp. "I can try to guess that it's because you want to deal with me." Shenghao Group and Bo-Ao Group were competitors. It was no secret that Bo-Ao Group was against Shenghao Group in every aspect. Mikakito sneered. "Mixing personal and business matters together? That's not my style. Bailey Han, I'm not you. I won't cancel the contract for personal reasons and cause a loss of 10 million yuan. Mikakito was directly insinuating that he canceled the advertising cooperation with Glamour magazine because of Xiaodong. Bailey Han's face darkened and he said coldly, "In any case, your report is not convincing. Even if the fingerprints are the same, we can't rule out the possibility that someone framed Yinqian." White Tiger couldn't help but shout. "What do you mean? Suzaku and I have already fallen to this point. Do you think we would lie?" Bailey Han was expressionless. "What you said may be the truth, but you also heard it from the middleman. Can you guarantee that the middleman is telling the truth?" White Tiger was not convinced. "Of course, I know the middleman's character very well. He definitely won't lie." Mikakito said calmly. "Bailey Han, I didn't expect you to be so biased. Even with scientific evidence, you still think it's not enough. He shook his head and showed a regretful expression. Whether you believe it or not, this report was made by an authoritative organization. I definitely did not interfere. As for the rest, I'll leave it to you to judge. Bailey Han's face suddenly turned ugly. Su Yunxian frowned unhappily and said sternly, Mr. Beitang, what do you mean? Han, believe me. Do you think this is wrong? I didn't do it, so why can't Han believe me? Mika Kito sneered. Miss Su, you really have a glib tongue. Even in the face of irrefutable evidence, you can still bite back. You. Su Yunxian was so angry that her eyebrows were raised. You're slandering me. Mika Kito stopped smiling and exuded a cold and domineering aura. I'll use facts to tell you whether I'm slandering you or not. Miss Su, don't forget, we still have a witness. The Godfather, the middleman that Suzaku and the others were talking about. Su Yunxian's eyes flashed with a trace of shock. Although it was just a flash, Mika Kito, who had been watching her closely, still noticed it. He was even more certain that she was the culprit, and was determined to expose her true colors. Bailey Han also noticed it. On the way back, Bailey Han didn't say a word until he sent Su Yunxian to the door. He turned to look at her with a calm gaze. Yunxian, I believe Mika Kito's report is correct. The fingerprints on the photo were left by you. Tell me, did you touch that photo? Su Yunxian widened her eyes in disbelief. Her eyes were covered with a layer of mist as she choked and said, You don't believe me. You actually suspect me. His voice was cold. If I didn't believe you, I wouldn't have defended you in front of Mika Kito. Then why did you say that? Su Yunxian's eyes were misty with tears. He frowned. If it's as we guessed and someone deliberately framed you, then the photo might have been tampered with. If you remember when you touched that photo, you might be able to find out who framed you. She secretly breathed a sigh of relief, but her tears fell even harder. I don't know. Maybe I really did touch it, but I really don't remember. She couldn't say that she hired a private investigator to steal the photo, right? But the point was who stole the photo and gave it to the kidnappers. Did the Godfather really betray her? Bailey Han sighed and took out a tissue to wipe her tears. She apologized softly. I'm sorry, Han. I didn't know things would turn out like this. Okay, I'm not blaming you. It's just that Mika Kito won't let it go so easily. I think he'll find the middleman next. Su Yunxian's heart skipped a beat and she asked carefully. Han, if, and I'm saying if, the middleman also proves that I hired someone to frame Xia Dong, will you still believe me? Bailey Han's eyes darkened and he didn't answer immediately. Although he trusted Su Yunxian, he was also rational. Who would go through so much trouble to set up such a trap to frame Yunxian? Moreover, it was such a coincidence to target Xia Dong. Are you starting to hesitate? Su Yunxian didn't get an answer. She bit her lip and said with tears in her eyes, Then I'll admit it. I hate Xia Dong. I hate that she always gets close to you, so I hired someone to frame her. Are you satisfied now? Bailey Han frowned helplessly. Yunxian, what are you doing? I didn't say that I didn't trust you. But you showed it. She didn't give up. He rubbed his eyebrows helplessly. I'm just thinking. Who could possibly want to frame you and Xia Dong? What can the person who framed you get in return? Su Yunxian smiled through her tears. In the basement of the Repulse Bay Villa, Beitang Shen ordered people to release Vermilion Bird and White Tiger from the wall. As soon as the two were released, they fell limply to the ground. They had originally suffered heavy injuries, and had been hung for 2 days. So it would be strange if they didn't become limp. I want to make a deal with you. Mika Kito looked at them condescendingly. Tell me the identity of the middleman, and I'll spare your lives. Suzaku smiled bitterly. The offer is very tempting, but we can't agree. Then add one more condition. I guarantee the safety of White Tiger's parents and Director Lin. Mika Kito knew what they were most worried about. Suzaku and White Tiger couldn't believe it. They didn't believe that the cruel and cold Mika Kito would let them go. White Tiger gritted his teeth. Why should we believe you? We kidnapped Miss Xia and caused her to become addicted to drugs. Are you really going to let us go? He had already seen that Mika Kito loved Xia Dong deeply. Anyone who dared to hurt her would be tortured miserably. Mikakito looked indifferent. Do you have any other choice except to believe me? If you don't tell me, you'll die. If you tell me, not only will you survive, but you may also save the lives of your loved ones. They hesitated for a long time, but in the end their desire to live prevailed. White Tiger's face was ashen as he said, "In fact, we don't know the identity of the middleman. We only know that his nickname is Godfather. He has been the contact of all the killers in a city since we started this business." Mikakito raised his eyebrows. "How can we find him?" Suzaku leaned weakly against the wall and said, "There's a bar called Blue Series. He often lurks there, wearing a mask to mix drinks for the customers. No one has seen his real face." Mikakito glanced at Jiang Dao, who immediately led his men to the bar called Blue Series. 2 hours later, Mikakito received a call from him. Blue Series was closed, and no one knew where Godfather was. Where else can we find him? Godfather, this person was not simple. Suzaku shook her head. This is the only way to find him. There's only one phone number. She told Mikakito the phone number. She dialed the number and heard a cold voice. Sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service. Mikakito looked at her coldly. It's not in service. She smiled mysteriously. It's not in service. Wait for 2 minutes. 2 minutes later, Mikakito's phone rang. The caller ID was a string of garbled codes, and he could not see the caller's number. He answered the call and heard a gloomy voice. I'm Godfather. Mikakito narrowed his eyes and said slowly. I'm Mikakito. Godfather sneered. So you're the head of the Yamaguchi gang. Nice to meet you. What can I do for you? Mikakito said indifferently. I heard you recently accepted a job, and the target is my fiancé. Godfather paused and his voice became serious. Yes, I did. Why? Are you here to settle the score with me? Mikakito sneered. I know the rules of the underworld, and I won't do anything to you. I just want to know who the employer is. Godfather refused. I won't tell you the employer's name. This is the rule. Mikakito asked casually. Even if it means becoming the enemy of the entire Yamaguchi gang? Godfather smiled bitterly. Boss Beitang, I'm just trying to make a living. Why do you have to force me? Mikakito said word by word. Whoever dares to touch my woman and child is courting death. He exuded a cold and murderous aura, and Suzaku and White Tiger couldn't help but shiver. The Godfather was silent for a long time before he said, I can tell you the name of my employer, but you can't let this matter spread out. You can't ruin my reputation. Or I'll keep this secret even if I have to die without a burial place. Okay, I promise. Mikakito said without hesitation. Her name is Su Yinqian. After saying this, the Godfather hung up the phone. After the call ended, Mikakito also ended the recording on his phone. His lips curved into a sinister smile. Su Yinqian, let's see what else you have to say this time. Welfare Xinwu 799. Chapter 118. Mikakito played the recorded conversation in front of Bailey Han and Su Yinqian. Although Bailey Han was prepared for it, his expression still changed after hearing it. Su Yinqian jumped up from her seat and screamed, I don't believe it. I'm going to ask Suzaku and White Tiger why they framed me. At this moment, she was the perfect example of a person who had been framed. Bailey Han stopped her. Yinqian, calm down. We'll get to the bottom of this. How can I not be excited? Who is it that framed me? Su Yinqian abandoned all her elegance and pushed Bailey Han's arm in agitation. Han, don't stop me. I have to get to the bottom of this. Mikakito looked at her coldly. Okay, I'll allow you to interrogate them. I'll go with you. Bailey Han frowned and followed Su Yinqian. Mikakito watched them walk to the basement coldly. Jiang Dao whispered, Boss, should we follow them? No need. Let's go to the monitoring room. In the monitoring room, Mikakito sat in front of the monitor and saw Su Yinqian angrily questioning Suzaku and White Tiger. The surveillance camera had a 360-degree view without any blind spots. He could clearly see the anger on her face. At the same time, he could also see Bailey Han's cold expression. The screen suddenly flashed. White lines flashed across the screen and covered the entire screen in waves. The people on the screen were all blocked. What's going on? Mika Kito frowned and patted the monitor. It's probably broken. Jiang Dao wiped the sweat on his forehead and hurriedly called the technicians over. In the basement, Su Yinqian sternly questioned Suzaku and White Tiger. They calmly said that they didn't frame her, and were just telling the truth. She casually glanced at the time on her wrist. Suddenly, she pounced on Suzaku as if she had gone crazy. Bailey Han hurriedly stepped forward and held her shoulders to calm her down. She clenched her teeth and sobbed. Her right hand was behind her back. She used her middle finger to scratch her clothes, leaving a long mark. Then she used her middle finger to tap her thumb rhythmically. Suzaku first noticed her right hand. At first, Suzaku thought that she was doing it subconsciously. But later, she realized that something was wrong. Su Yinqian was using Morse code. Su Yinqian was using Morse code to send her a message. Suzaku's heart suddenly jumped. She quickly glanced at the cameras around her. She boldly guessed that since Su Yinqian dared to use Morse code with her back facing her, she must have found a way to interfere with the cameras. She began to focus on Su Yinqian's fingers to see what message she was trying to send. Su Yinqian buried her head in Bailey Han's arms and cried. Her right hand, which was hidden behind her back, was tapping rhythmically. She told Suzaku, "My godfather never told the assassins the name of his employer, but he told you my name. Have you ever doubted his intentions?" Vermilion Bird's pupils suddenly shrank. In fact, she also had her suspicions, but this thought only flashed through her mind before she discarded it. She believed that her godfather was a righteous person. But today, when Beitang Shen threatened her godfather, he didn't even hesitate to reveal his employer's name. This indeed made her somewhat disappointed. Even though she herself had betrayed her employer, Su Yinqian used Morse code again. He had long planned to betray you. Think about it. You changed your appearance and escaped abroad. You even used fake identities. How did Mika Kito find you in 2 days? That's because someone secretly tipped her off. Suzaku was shocked again. Only she, White Tiger, and her godfather, who helped them get fake IDs, knew about her and White Tiger going to Vanuatu. Did her godfather really betray them? Su Yinqian's fingers moved again. Are you willing to be betrayed by your godfather? Why do you want to be righteous when your godfather is heartless? Well, that's all I have to say. Think about it yourselves. Su Yinqian estimated the time it took Falcon to hack into the villa's CCTV and quickly stopped typing the password. When Bailey Han comforted her, she said weakly, "Han, I don't want to stay here anymore." Bailey Han held her arm. "Okay, let's go." The moment they left the basement, the CCTV returned to normal. Mika Kito's eyes moved. She felt that it was too much of a coincidence that the CCTV was broken. She called her subordinate who was guarding the basement door. The subordinate told her that Su Yinqian did not say anything. After yelling angrily, she leaned into Bailey Han's arms and cried. Mika Kito frowned and was deep in thought. Just then one of her subordinates came in and said, "Boss, someone uploaded the photos 3 days ago. We have a clue." 3 days ago, someone uploaded the photos of Xia Dong's drug addiction to the internet through a foreign server. Fortunately, Mika Kito was prepared and intercepted it, so it did not cause a stir. Mika Kito looked at her subordinate and gestured for him to continue. Ouyang cracked the other party's IP address. Through the IP address, we found out the other party's identity. He is a hacker. He said that a client from China contacted him and asked him to release the photos. He did not know the other party's name, but he received the photos through an email. Through the email used to trade with the hacker, we tracked down the address. The subordinate handed a small notebook to Mika Kito and pointed at a little red dot on the map. The Su family. Mika Kito's eyes narrowed dangerously. The Su Bolin family? No, it's Su Morong's family. What? Mika Kito raised his eyebrows in surprise. Xiaxia's father, Xia Zhenxing, married Su Morong. He had investigated thoroughly and found out that they had a daughter named Su Xingqian. How could they be involved in the theft and photos? He had always thought that the mastermind behind the theft, photos, and kidnapping was the same person. Could he have been wrong? After a moment of shock, Mikakito's face darkened. Things are getting more and more interesting. Who took these photos and who wants to harm Xiaxia? I'll get to the bottom of this. He flipped through the photos carefully, trying to find clues. In the photos, Xiaodong was lying on the bed in pain. Her body was convulsing, and the background was in her bedroom. Wait a minute. Except for the one time when she first came back, she spent the time in her own bedroom. After that, he had brought her to his villa every time. Mikakito suddenly flew into a rage and slammed the photos on the table. Jiangdao, get Xiaxia's nanny here. He paused and said, don't let Xia know about this. In Xiaxia's house, the only person who could come into contact with her was the nanny. The nanny was quickly brought to Mikakito by Jiangdao. She was in her 30s and came from the countryside. She looked honest and timid. When she saw Mikakito's angry face, her legs began to turn to jelly. She said in a trembling voice, Mr. Beitang, why are you looking for me? Mikakito threw the photos at her face. She hurriedly caught the photos. When she saw the photos clearly, she was so shocked that she fell to her knees and cried, Mr. Beitang, please let me go. I was forced to do this. Mikakito looked down at her coldly. Speak. Who ordered you to do this? The nanny choked with sobs. I don't know. I don't know her. She covered her face. I only know she's a woman. She kidnapped my child and threatened me. She said she would kill my child if I didn't do as she said. She crawled to Mikakito on her knees and grabbed his leg. She begged, Mr. Beitang, I beg you. Please let me go. I didn't do it on purpose. Mikakito looked at her coldly. Don't worry. I won't kill you. You're still useful to me. More importantly, Xiaxia valued her a lot. If he killed her and Xiaxia found out, she would never forgive him. The nanny kowtowed gratefully. Thank you. Thank you. I'll do whatever you ask me to do. Mikakito walked around her in disgust. Do you remember the voice of the person who ordered you to do this? Yes. Mikakito said a few words to Jiangdao, and then walked out of the surveillance room. Jiangdao asked the nanny to sit in front of the surveillance screen. He pointed at Su Yinqian on the screen and said, listen to her voice. The nanny nodded hurriedly. Mikakito walked into the living room. Bailey Han and Su Yinqian had been waiting for him for a long time. Bailey Han said calmly, I thought you wouldn't show up again. He had left the guest here for more than an hour while he stayed in the surveillance room. If it weren't for the fact that he wanted to solve this problem once and for all, Bailey Han would have slammed the door and left. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. I was dealing with something just now. Mikakito apologized, but there was no apology on his face. Bailey Han was very unhappy. He said with a dark face, let's get to the point. We don't believe the words of the middleman. I firmly believe that this has nothing to do with Yinqian. Mikakito sneered and turned to Su Yinqian. Miss Su, as a suspect, you have the right to say something to defend yourself. Su Yinqian smiled. I didn't do it. I believe that the innocent will find out the truth. I also believe that Mr. Beitang will find out the truth one day. As soon as Su Yinqian finished speaking, the nanny in the surveillance room shook her head. It's not her. The person who ordered me to secretly take pictures of Miss Xia is not her. Jiangdao immediately walked out of the surveillance room and came to the living room. He whispered a few words in Mikakito's ear. Mikakito's eyes narrowed but quickly returned to normal. He looked at Su Yinqian and said calmly, one day. I'll give you one more day. If you can't find any new clues, I'll assume that Miss Su is the mastermind. Miss Su, I've said before that anyone who hurts Xiaxia will not have a good ending. I don't care if she has a backer or not. Do you understand what I mean? This was a blatant declaration. If they couldn't catch the mastermind in one day, they would treat Su Yinqian as the mastermind and deal with her. Bailey Han's eyes turned cold, and he exploded on the spot. Mikakito, don't go overboard. Awesome novel, Songshu 566. Chapter 119. You'll find out soon enough whether I went overboard or not. Beitangshan looked at him mockingly. Bailey Han, you're the one who trusted this woman too much. There's so much evidence in front of you. Yet you still refuse to admit it. One day you'll regret it. Bailey Han suddenly stood up, his anger skyrocketing. Su Yinqian quickly pulled him back and said softly, Han, don't be so agitated. Let's go back. After all, they were in someone else's territory. If they really fought, they wouldn't be able to get away with it. After sending off Bailey Han and Su Yinqian, Mika Kito contacted the best fighter, Lu Xing, and gave him a secret mission. That night, Lu Xing snuck into Su Xingqian's house and secretly recorded her conversation with the servant. He then stole her laptop while she was asleep. The nanny listened to Su Xingqian's recording and confirmed that Su Xingqian was the woman who threatened her to steal and film Xia Dong. Mika Kito found a hacker under her and cracked Su Xingqian's password. After entering her laptop, she found that this woman's innocent appearance hid such an ugly heart. There was a folder with a password that stored a lot of things related to Xia Dong. There were recordings, photos, and even videos from 5 years ago. Through the traces of her surfing the internet, she found that she paid special attention to Bailey Han and collected a lot of things related to him on her laptop. Looking at these things, Mika Kito couldn't help but suspect that Su Xingqian was the mastermind. Su Xingqian's obsession with Bailey Han had reached a morbid level, so she hated Xia Dong getting close to him. She hated Su Yinqian, who was about to marry him, so she planned this kidnapping to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. However, did Su Xingqian really have the ability to set up such a big trap? Mika Kito rubbed her brows. Jiang Dao suddenly came in and said, "Boss, Suzaku wants to see you." In the basement, Suzaku and White Tiger had already washed the bloodstains off their bodies. They finally revealed their true faces, and the wounds on their bodies were also treated. Suzaku's cold and elegant face was expressionless as she said, "Boss Beitang, I suddenly thought of something that might be of help to your investigation." Mika Kito looked at her coldly. "Tell me." "Godfather has a goddaughter." She paused and said, "I overheard it by accident. That day, I went to Godfather's place to pick up a mission. It was Miss Xia's mission. I arrived earlier than the agreed time. I overheard him talking to someone and heard him call his precious goddaughter. After that, my godfather told me that Su Yinqian had issued a mission." Mika Kito raised her eyebrows. Suzaku continued, "I didn't think too much about it, but now that I think about it, I feel a little strange. Why would my godfather tell me the employer's name? He knew it was against the rules." Mika Kito said indifferently, "Do you think it's because of the person he was talking to on the phone?" Suzaku shrugged. "I don't know. I'm just asking a question. I don't suspect anything." Mika Kito's gaze was sharp. "Are you trying to tell me that Su Yinqian was framed by my godfather?" Suzaku curled her lips, and her cold and elegant face immediately became beautiful. "Boss Beitang, as a prisoner, I know my own situation very well. I won't play tricks to test your patience, and I won't risk my own life. I'm just telling you everything I know." Mika Kito's gaze was as sharp as a knife, coldly cutting her skin. She said word by word, "That'd better be the case." Suzaku was not moved at all. She asked calmly, "White Tiger and I have already told you everything according to the agreement. When will you follow the agreement and ensure the safety of our loved ones?" "I'll arrange for them to emigrate within this week." "Emigrate?" Suzaku's gaze turned cold. "Emigrate to Japan?" Mika Kito's eyes flashed with admiration. "Not bad. You're very smart." Suzaku sneered. "What a clever trick. You've tied up the people we care about and sent them to Japan. Aren't you afraid that we'll betray you?" Mika Kito placed her hands on the table and looked down with a domineering aura like a king. "I've never been worried that you'll betray me. Controlling your loved ones is just to make you more useful to me." Suzaku looked at the tall figure in front of her. Although she was angry, she was more impressed. This man was born with the wisdom and aura of a king. She said expressionlessly, "Deal. White Tiger and I agree to work for you. And you have to guarantee the safety of White Tiger's parents and Director Lin." "Of course." Mika Kito was also expressionless. It was a long time later that Suzaku realized that after she and White Tiger hurt Xia Dong, they were able to escape unscathed and reach an agreement with Mika Kito. They were simply lucky. Of course, It was also at that time that she realized that if it weren't for the fact that they were still useful, they would have been thrown into the Tibetan Mastiff Zoo and fed to the mastiffs by Mika Kito. Suzaku and White Tiger officially joined the Sanka group. Mika Kito considered that the godfather might take revenge on them, and temporarily arranged for them to go to Japan to familiarize themselves with the gang's affairs. Of course, he also sent loyal subordinates to keep an eye on them to prevent them from playing any tricks. Now, it seemed that all the evidence pointed to Su Xingqian being the mastermind, and Su Yunqian being innocent. Mika Kito was waiting. He was waiting for the one-day deadline to see what evidence Su Yunqian would produce to prove her innocence. The next day, accompanied by Bailey Han, Su Yunqian appeared in Mika Kito's office with a small box. She took out the contents of the box. There was a recording pen and a stack of photos. She bit her lip and seemed to be in a difficult position. Xingqian asked the servant to give me the recording pen. It contains what Miss Xia said in front of her mother's grave. As for the content, you will know once you listen to it. These photos were also sent to me by Xingqian. My assistant can testify. Mika Kito played the recording pen. The contents of the recording made his expression turn ugly. Bailey Han's deep eyes also moved. It was Bailey Han's first time seeing these photos. It was actually taken the night he was at Charming Club. At the time, Xiao Tianxing warned him that Su Xingqian was also at the club and told him to be careful. That was why he asked Xiao Tianxing to carry Xia Dong into the private room. He didn't expect Su Xingqian to sense that something was wrong and secretly took photos. Bailey Han looked at Su Yunqian. Why didn't you tell me that Su Xingqian gave you these photos? Su Yunqian bit her lip and forced a smile. I believe that there's nothing going on between you and Xia Dong. Xingqian must have done this to create a rift between us. Of course, I don't want her to succeed. Han, the reason why I kept this from you was because I didn't want you to think that I misunderstood you. Bailey Han didn't say anything but secretly held her hand. Su Yunqian smiled slightly and looked at Mika Kito. Mr. Beitang, weren't you curious why Xia Dong's photos had my fingerprints? I remembered that after Su Xingqian sent me the photos, she came to my office. She might have stolen the photos with my fingerprints. My assistant can testify that she came to my office. Mika Kito's deep eyes stared at her, as if he wanted to see through her. She maintained an elegant smile, and was neither servile nor overbearing. Bailey Han took a step forward and confronted him. His gaze was as cold as water. I believe that Mr. Beitang will find out the truth and won't wrongly accuse an innocent person. Mika Kito said indifferently. Of course, I won't wrongly accuse an innocent person, and I won't let the real culprit go. Through the evidence, everything was as Su Yunqian said. Su Xingqian had sent the items in the box to her, and Su Xingqian had indeed been to Su Yunqian's office. Su Yunqian's suspicions were cleared, and Su Xingqian was now the prime suspect. Mika Kito sneered. Su Xingqian, it doesn't matter if you're related to Xia Xia by blood. If you dare to hurt Xia Xia, I'll make you pay the price. At this time, Su Xingqian's mood was so good that she had nothing to say. This was because she had just spoken to her godfather. Her godfather had said that his two killers had been arrested by Beitang Shen. Moreover, Beitang Shen had obtained testimony from him. Su Yunqian's kidnapping of Xia Dong had been exposed. Su Xingqian didn't know that he and his godfather had teamed up to plot against Su Yunqian. But she had bitten back and dragged him into the water. He had become the target of Mika Kito's revenge. Because she was in a good mood, she invited Bai Meiwei and Bailey Fei Yan to a nightclub to have some fun. The three of them drank and laughed together. Soon a handsome guy came over to hit on her. Bailey Fei Yan, the love-struck girl, was the first to be seduced. The two of them hugged and danced on the dance floor. Another guy came over to hit on Bai Meiwei. Bai Meiwei already had someone in her heart, so of course she rejected him. She waved at Su Xingqian and said, I'm going to the washroom. Su Xingqian smiled and nodded. A handsome guy came over. His short hair covered his forehead, and his eyes were charming. He chuckled and said, Alone? Su Xingqian also smiled. No, I'm with a friend. The handsome guy suddenly came in front of her. His handsome face was magnified, and she couldn't help but be stunned. Just as she was in a daze, The person beside her quickly put a white pill in her wine glass. The handsome guy's nose was already close to hers. She quickly pushed him away and blushed shyly. The handsome guy raised his wine glass and smiled ambiguously. "You look like my first love. How about we toast to this coincidence?" Su Xingchen blinked. "Do you always use such lame excuses to get close to girls?" Although she said that, she still picked up the wine glass on the bar and clinked it with his. The transparent liquid slowly flowed down her throat. The handsome guy's eyes were filled with complacency and ruthlessness. In less than a minute, Su Xingchen fainted. The handsome guy picked her up and quickly walked to the private room at the back. When Bai Meiwei came back, Su Xingchen had already disappeared. She squeezed onto the dance floor. The music was deafening. She had no choice but to shout loudly. Bailey Fei Yan only heard her question. Bailey Fei Yan said that she also didn't see Su Xingchen. Bai Meiwei called Su Xingchen's phone, but it was turned off. She thought that she was drunk and went home first, so she didn't think much about it. Little did she know that Su Xingchen had already been forced to drink a strong aphrodisiac. Lying on the bed, she was surrounded by 3 naked men. Beauty novel Xinwu 799. Chapter 120. So hot, so uncomfortable. Su Xingchen was forced to drink 2 large cups of strong alcohol mixed with aphrodisiac. Her whole body felt like it was on fire, and she lost all reason. She only knew that following her body's instinct. She tore off the clothes on her body. In a short 10 seconds, her whole body was only left with her underwear. So hot, so hot. Not enough, no matter how much she tried, it was not enough. Her eyes were blurred, and she took off the last bit of cloth on her body. Her soft and beautiful figure was immediately exposed in front of the 3 men. The 3 of them were all male prostitutes in this bar, and they were called to this private room by a mysterious client. The mysterious client told them that as long as they served the woman on the bed, each of them would receive a reward of 1 million. 1 million, they never dreamed that they would have so much money. Even if they were facing an old and ugly woman, they were willing to do it, let alone this beautiful woman in front of them. Don't be afraid. Big brother will soon make you not hot. Seeing Su Xingchen's coquettish appearance, one of the male prostitutes could not bear it anymore. His thing was already bulging up, and he impatiently pounced on her. He directly pushed her down on the bed, and tightly pressed her burning hot body. The other 2 male prostitutes were originally somewhat hesitant, but when they saw their companion pouncing on her, they were afraid of falling behind, so they also quickly pounced on her. They still remembered the mysterious person's words, to make her beg for mercy, to take the initiative to seduce them, to beg them. They were all experienced in love, and they were very familiar with a woman's body, and they were also very skilled. One of them used the tip of his tongue to kiss her ear, one of them crawled on her chest, wantonly playing with her softness, and one of them used his finger to explore her secret place. All of her body's sensitive points were under their control, and the strange pleasure wave after wave attacked the nerves in Su Xingchen's brain. She desperately twisted her body, moaning delicately, following her instincts to cater to their movements. The man under her legs suddenly stopped his movements, and his finger withdrew from her legs. Su Xingchen felt an unprecedented emptiness, and slowly floated up from her body. She impatiently twisted her body. Her misty eyes were stained with mist, her cheeks were crimson, and she softly moaned. Want. What do you want? The person in front of her chest mischievously pinched her soft breasts, and the increased strength made her cry out involuntarily. Although it was a little painful, a strange feeling soon surged in her heart. She wanted more, but the 3 of them stopped moving. The unbearable pain spread in her body, and it was very uncomfortable. She tried her best to grab a body and rubbed against his chest, letting out comfortable moans. That person let out a deep laugh. Kitten, I'll teach you how to play with yourself, okay? He grabbed her small hands that were groping everywhere, and placed them on her own soft hands. His palms covered hers, and he rubbed them gently at first before slowly increasing the strength. She quickly learned how to make herself comfortable, and impatiently placed both her hands on him. Don't be in such a hurry. That person smirked as he pulled one of her hands down and slid it down to her flat bottom. Then he slowly slid his hand down, following the fragrant grass into the valley. Watching a beauty defile herself was a very erotic thing. The three of them were burning with lust, and their mouths were dry. However, they didn't make the next move. They were waiting for an opportunity. After a while, Su Xingchen was no longer satisfied. She sobbed. "It's uncomfortable. I want." One of them crawled by her ear and bit her earlobe, bewitching her will. "What do you want? Do you want a man?" She didn't know. She shook her head in confusion, her eyes filled with tears. "Say you want a man, you want a man." The man used a gentle and low voice to bewitch her. Every time he said it, his fingertips would fiercely press down. His body and lower body were already soaked. "Ah, I want a man." Su Xingchen, who was continuously teased and teased, was already sobbing. The fire in her body burned crazily, and all of her reason was burned to ashes. All that was left was lust. "Louder, I can't hear you." The man slightly raised his voice. "I want a man," Su Xingchen cried loudly. The three men looked at each other and smiled evilly. Following the violent movements of one of them, Su Xingchen let out a mournful scream. It was so painful. The snow-white sheets below her were stained with bright red blood. "I didn't expect you to still be a virgin." The man worked hard, without the slightest bit of tenderness. The blood-curdling screams gradually turned into moans and groans. The good show had just begun. When Su Xingchen woke up, it was already the afternoon of the second day. Her whole body was in so much pain that it was as if someone had taken her apart and reassembled her. She blankly opened her eyes. In an unfamiliar room, she looked down. She saw that the bed was in a mess, and her naked body was lying on the bed. Her body was covered with bruises, and some kind of suspicious liquid. There was also a strange taste in her mouth. After being stunned for a few seconds, she suddenly crazily got up from the bed and staggered into the bathroom. Looking at her battered and exhausted self in the mirror, she wailed loudly. She didn't remember what happened last night, but she knew that her innocence was gone. While crying, she washed her body over and over again. When she came out of the bathroom, her skin was already red as if it was bleeding. There were no clothes in the room. She didn't dare to stay on the messy bed. She curled up into a ball and hid on the sofa, hugging her shoulders tightly with both hands. After about half an hour, she finally calmed down. Using the landline in the room, she called Bai Meiwei. In terms of relationship, she was closer to Bailey Fei Yan, but Bailey Fei Yan was a brainless woman. It was very likely that she would unintentionally expose this matter, so she chose the mature and intelligent Bai Meiwei. When Bai Meiwei received her call, she quickly took a leave of absence and rushed over from the hospital. She didn't ask anything and handed the clothes to Su Xingchen. After she changed and walked out of the bathroom, she held her hand and said softly, "Xingchen, I'll take you home." Su Xingchen sat beside Bai Meiwei. Her eyes were lifeless as she looked at the scenery outside the window. She said softly, "Meiwei, I was drunk last night and had a one-night stand with someone." Bai Meiwei said softly, "Don't think so much. Go home and sleep. You'll be the lively and cheerful Su Xingchen again." Su Xingchen smiled bitterly. "But I'm no longer worthy of Big Brother Han." Bai Meiwei didn't know how to comfort her, so she could only hold her hand. They didn't speak for the rest of the journey. Bai Meiwei sent Su Xingchen to the entrance of the villa. She wanted to accompany her in, but she refused. Bai Meiwei could only let her be. When Su Xingchen walked into the living room, she realized that the atmosphere wasn't right. Mommy, who was usually working at the company at this time, was actually sitting on the sofa with a gloomy expression. Daddy was sitting beside her with an ugly expression. Other than them, there weren't any servants in the living room. "Mommy, Daddy." Su Xingchen revealed a sweet smile and endured the pain as she walked in front of them. Xia Zhenqing sighed and turned his head away, not looking at her. Su Morong suddenly stood up and threw something at her feet. She angrily said, "Su Xingchen, look at what you've done." Meng. Su Xingchen was shocked by her sudden anger. She took a step back and bent down to pick up the thing on the ground. It was a CD. She tearfully said, "Mommy, what is this?" Su Morong angrily held her chest. What is this? You still have the face to ask me what this is? Let me ask you, where did you go last night? Why didn't you come back last night? Su Xingchen's expression became even more pitiful, but her brain was spinning rapidly. Could it be that Daddy and Mommy already knew what happened last night? This CD, could it be? What about you? Let me ask you, what did you do last night? Su Morong was so angry that her whole body trembled. She pointed her finger at Su Xingchen's nose, her eyes overflowing with anger. Wife, don't be so agitated. Be careful of your body. Xia Zhenqing supported Su Morong. He looked at Su Xingchen and sighed. Xingchen, how could you do such a thing? You've really disappointed us. Daddy, Mommy, listen to me. I didn't do it on purpose. I was drunk last night. Su Xingchen was already sure that the CD was about what happened last night. She quickly grabbed Su Morong's hand and explained. Get out of the way. I don't have such a shameful daughter like you. Su Morong angrily shook off Su Xingchen's arm. Xia Zhenqing quickly said, Wife, don't be agitated. I'll help you upstairs to rest for a while. When he helped her upstairs, Xia Zhenqing turned around to look at Su Xingchen. Seeing her sitting on the sofa dejectedly, silently crying, he couldn't help but sigh. After her parents had gone upstairs, Su Xingchen sorted out her emotions and took the CD back to her room. She placed the CD into the CD player. The crazy and undignified scene caused her to sweep everything on the table to the floor in a fit of anger. Whatever bottles and cans, they were all smashed. After the anger, she tried to calm down. She knew that she was framed, and the other party sending the CD into her parents' hands was only the first step. She could almost imagine how she would face all kinds of eyes when this video was broadcasted on all the media and networks. Who was it? Who was it that wanted to frame her? Her two biggest enemies, Su Yinqian and Xia Dong. Could it be one of them? Su Xingchen sat on the sofa and carefully analyzed the situation. First, her laptop mysteriously disappeared. She thought that it was the work of an ordinary thief, so she didn't take it to heart. Now that she thought about it, maybe someone wanted to dig out something from her laptop, so they stole it. She nervously clenched her fingers. There were a lot of Xia Dong's stuff on her laptop. Was she the one who did it? She thought for a while and called Su Yinqian. Sister Su Yinqian, are you okay? Su Yinqian chuckled. What can happen to me? Instead, you Xingchen, have to be careful. Be careful that Mika Keto comes looking for you for revenge. Mika Keto is a vengeful man. Su Xingchen's body stiffened. Sister Yinqian, what do you mean? Su Yinqian kindly reminded her. You know what you've done, my dear cousin Xingchen. She wanted to frame Su Xingchen, but unfortunately her skills weren't good enough and she got herself into trouble. Attention, Xinwu 799. Chapter 121. Su Xingchen ended the call and bit her lip. She began to confirm that her plan with her godfather had failed. If Su Yinqian was really treated as a suspect by Mika Keto, she wouldn't be so arrogant. With Su Yinqian's methods, she must have bitten her back. So she was actually being taken revenge by Mika Keto. Su Xingchen scratched the leather sofa with her nails. There was a knock on the door. She took a deep breath and said softly, Please come in. Xia Zhenqing walked in. His expression was still very ugly. Seeing the shattered glass on the floor, he sighed and said, Xingchen, your mommy is still very angry. Wait a few days for her anger to subside a little. Then you can have a good talk with her and ask for her forgiveness. Su Xingchen blinked. Her eyes were quickly covered with a layer of mist. She looked at him pitifully. Daddy, I was set up. I was at a bar with my friends last night, and someone drugged my drink. Xia Zhenqing was very shocked. There's such a thing? Who set you up? She said with tears in her eyes. Mika Keto. You mean the CEO of Bo Ao Corporation, Mika Keto? Xia Zhenqing couldn't believe it. Wasn't Mika Keto Xiaxia's fiancé? Why would he drug Xingchen? Yes, it's him. Why would he want to harm you? Su Xingchen lowered her head guiltily. Because I know that Xia Dong is my older sister and brother Han treats her very specially. So I once insulted her verbally. When Mika Keto found out about it, he took revenge on me. Xia Zhenqing's body stiffened. After a long time he said, "You really only insulted her verbally? I've seen Mikakito before. He doesn't seem like such a ruthless person." If he had only spoken ill of Xia, Mikakito wouldn't have done something so overboard. Su Xingchen jerked his head up and looked at him in disbelief. "Daddy, Xiaodong is your daughter. I'm also your daughter. Why are you biased towards her? I really only said a few bad things about her, and Mikakito happened to hear it." Xia Zhenxing pinched his eyebrows. "Someone sent a CD to our house this morning. I'm worried that Mikakito will do something else. Daddy, he won't let me go." Su Xingchen grabbed his arm, his face full of anticipation. "Daddy, I beg you. Go and plead with Sister Xiaodong. Ask Mikakito to return my things and let me go, okay?" Xia Zhenxing looked troubled. "Xingchen, it's not that Daddy doesn't want to help you, but Xia hates me. She doesn't want to see me at all." Su Xingchen burst into tears. "Mikakito will definitely leak the CD. I don't have the face to live anymore." As she spoke, she suddenly stood up and ran to the window. She quickly opened the window and looked like she was going to jump out of the window. Xia Zhenxing hurriedly ran up and grabbed her arm. "Xingchen, calm down. We'll think of a solution." Su Xingchen burst into tears. "What else can we do? Mikakito won't let me go. I'll just die. Then I won't embarrass you." She struggled hard, trying to pry his hands off her. He desperately held onto her arm and gritted his teeth. "Okay, I promise you. I'll go find Xia and ask her to persuade Mikakito." Su Xingchen's lips curled into a smug smile. She turned around and hugged Xia Zhenxing, crying her heart out. "Daddy." Okay. Don't cry. Hurry up and get down." Xia Zhenxing's heart was in his throat. He carefully helped her down from the railing. Xiaodong came out of the company building and was about to go to the parking lot to get her car when she was suddenly stopped. She looked coldly at Xia Zhenxing, who was standing in front of her, and said coldly, "Xia Zhenxing, didn't I make myself clear? I don't want to see you." Xia Zhenxing looked embarrassed and pained. "I'm sorry. I didn't want to disturb you, but Xingchen, something happened. I need your help." She looked at him coldly. "Help? How do you want me to help her?" She sounded very calm. Xia Zhenxing thought that she would listen to him, so he quickly explained. "I heard from Xingchen that she once said some things that hurt you. Mikakito found out about it, so Mikakito took revenge on her by filming some indecent videos of her. She hopes that you can persuade Mikakito to destroy those videos." Xiaodong was almost in awe of herself. She could actually laugh after hearing what he said. She raised her eyebrows. "So Su Xingchen told you that the way she hurt me was by saying some bad things about me?" Xia Zhenxing nodded, not understanding what she meant. Xiaodong laughed out loud. "So you believe her?" Xia Zhenxing hesitated for a moment, but still nodded. Xiaodong clapped her hands. "That's so touching. Thank you for letting me know what father-daughter love is." She suddenly stopped smiling and said coldly, "Xia Zhenxing, it's obvious that you don't know what your good daughter has done. I don't want to waste time explaining it to you. I won't help you with anything because this is what Su Xingchen deserves." Xia Zhenxing was stunned. Although he doubted Su Xingchen's words, he still believed that she was kind-hearted and wouldn't do anything evil. But now he was shaken. Xiaodong didn't look at him anymore. She walked past him and headed to the car without looking back. Xia Zhenxing stood there in a daze for a moment. He suddenly turned around and ran after her. He grabbed her arm and begged, Xia, no matter what Xingchen has done, she's still your sister. Take it as Dad begging you to destroy those videos. Otherwise she'll be ruined." Xiaodong sneered. "She's not my sister. My mother only gave birth to one daughter, me." Xia. She pulled her arm away and was about to leave. Xia Zhenxing panicked. He suddenly knelt down and said with red eyes, Xia, Dad is begging you. Don't ruin Xingchen. She's still young. If you have any resentment, take it out on Dad." Xiaodong was stunned and took 2 steps back. No matter how calm and emotionless she pretended to be, her heart still hurt when she saw her own father kneeling in front of her for another daughter. Her hands trembled as she tried to control herself from helping him up. Xia. He looked like he had aged in an instant. She couldn't bear to see him crying. She wanted to run away, but her arm was tightly held by him. Many passers-by looked over and pointed at them. She bit her lip and turned her head away, not wanting to look at him. Her eyes were covered with a layer of mist. "Mr. Xia, please don't do this." A man's voice suddenly sounded in Xia Dong's ears. She turned around and saw Xia Zhenqing being pulled up from the ground by a man in a suit and black-rimmed glasses. It was Lu Xing. Xia Dong quickly wiped the corners of her eyes and said to Lu Xing, "Lu Xing, if this man comes close to me in the future, treat him as a suspicious person." Understood. Lu Xing felt guilty and nodded. Because Xia Zhenqing was Miss Xia's father, he gave him special privileges and allowed him to get close to her. He didn't expect him to do such an irrational thing in public and make her the focus of attention. "Xia Xia, don't go Xia Xia." Xia Zhenqing chased after Xia Dong with his face covered in dirt, but he was stopped by Lu Xing. He said expressionlessly, "Mr. Xia, Miss Xia doesn't want to see you." "What should I do? Xingchen's matter hasn't been settled yet. What if she takes things too hard and does something stupid again?" Xia Zhenqing watched Xia Dong's car drive away, and his mind was filled with Su Xingchen's safety. "Daddy, how did it go? Is sister willing to help me?" Just as he was thinking, Su Xingchen called. Her voice was soft and sounded uneasy. Xia Zhenqing sighed. "Xingchen." Xia Xia didn't agree. "I planned to go to her house to look for her, but I didn't know her address. I followed her car and lost her in less than 10 minutes. Xingchen, tell me honestly, have you done anything wrong to her?" Xingchen burst into tears. "I don't want to live anymore. I don't have the face to live anymore. Daddy, Mika Kito won't let me go. He will definitely let the whole world see that video." Xia Zhenqing heard a loud bang from the other side of the phone. He was so shocked that his body trembled. He said sternly, "Xingchen, what are you doing? Don't do anything stupid." At the same time, Su Morong's screams came from the other side of the phone. "Xingchen, put down the broken vase. Ah, there's blood. Someone, call an ambulance." Xia Zhenqing's heart clenched. His whole body was tense as he shouted, "Xingchen, don't be rash. Put down the broken vase. Daddy will promise you anything. I'll go and look for Xia Xia right away." Su Xingchen sobbed. But you don't even know where she lives. How are you going to look for her?" "It's okay, I'll think of a way." Xia Zhenqing quickly coaxed her gently. "Xingchen Gigai, put down the vase in your hand and listen to me. I'll think of a way." Plop. It was the sound of something being thrown to the ground. Xia Zhenqing heaved a sigh of relief. On the other end of the phone, Su Morong rushed over and said anxiously, "Xingchen, let mommy take a look at your wound." "Mommy, I'm sorry," Su Xingchen said pitifully. Then she sobbed, "Daddy." Xia Zhenqing comforted her gently. "Xingchen, it's okay. Daddy will think of a way." After hanging up the phone, he suddenly remembered that he still had a place to go. It was the kindergarten. Xia Xia would bring the children home every day. By the time he arrived at the kindergarten, Xia Dong was already gone, and the children had all left. He punched the iron gate with all his might, unwilling to give up. After overcoming her drug addiction, Xia Dong lay lazily on the bed and stared blankly out the window. Mika Kito patted her head. "What's wrong? Are you in pain?" She looked into his eyes. "Brother Shen, tell me, how did you take revenge on Su Xingchen?" Mika Kito had told her that Su Xingchen was the mastermind, but he didn't tell her how he would take revenge. Beauty novel, Hongcha 866. Chapter 122. Mika Kito pursed his lips. "Are you sure you want to know?" She nodded firmly. "Brother Shen, I know what you're capable of. My psychological endurance is already very strong." "I'll take that as a compliment." The corners of his lips curled up, but his words were cold and heartless. "I'm just giving her a taste of her own medicine. Last night, I arranged for 3 male prostitutes to serve her and filmed the entire process. Also, I gave her an unexpected surprise." Of course, Xia Dong knew what it meant to serve her. She felt a little sorry for her, but when she thought about how Su Qingchen had hired a hooligan to molest her 5 years ago, and even uploaded a video online, causing her to be unable to return home. Her pity dissipated. An unexpected surprise? What's that? Beitang Shun's eyes flashed with a cold light. Drugs. I want her to experience the pain of being addicted to drugs. Xia Dong couldn't help but shiver when she thought of the pain. Mikakito sensed it and stared into her eyes. Do you think I'm scary? Everyone in the world could be afraid of him, but she couldn't. She was stunned. She hugged his arm and mumbled. Brother Shen, in my heart, you'll always be the gentle and considerate Brother Shen who dotes on me and cherishes me. The reason why you treated Su Xingchen like this is because she hurt me first. Mikakito hugged her tightly, but he was very careful to protect her abdomen. His meticulous care made her feel deeply touched. She lay in his arms and asked softly, Brother Shen, what do you plan to do about that video? He stroked her hair. I know that Xia Zhenxing went to see you today. I want to know your thoughts. Xia Dong was silent for a long time before she said slowly, I never wanted to hurt anyone, but they always forced me. I'm not a saint. I won't let Su Xingchen off so easily. She looked down and stroked her abdomen. How could she be so cruel? Not only did she hurt me, but she also wanted to harm my child. She injected me with drugs and wanted my child to be abnormal from the moment he was born. Her voice was choked with sobs as she spoke. She closed her eyes as if she had made an important decision. Brother Shen, I want her to know that she has to pay the price for hurting my child. Mikakito rubbed his chin against her hair and said softly, I won't let her off. An hour ago, I had someone post the video online. Xia Dong looked up in shock. She saw tenderness in his eyes. She finally understood. She couldn't help but to cry. Jesus, S? He smiled. So you don't have to feel guilty. I was the one who posted the video. Even if you have to face Xia Zhenxing, you don't have to feel guilty. Xia Dong hugged him. She couldn't help but cry. The Su family. When Xia Zhenxing returned home, he saw a furious Su Morong and a sobbing Su Xingchen. Su Xingchen's right wrist was still bandaged with blood. He sat on the sofa helplessly. In the end, I still couldn't find Xia Dong's house. In front of Su Morong, he would never call his daughter by her nickname. There's no need for that anymore. Su Morong flipped the laptop over and pointed the screen at him. She said sternly, Look at what this is. Xia Zhenxing only took one look and his body froze. It was Su Xingchen's indecent video. It had already gone viral on the internet. Now not only will Xingchen be humiliated, but our entire Su family corporation will also be in trouble. Su Morong could almost imagine the tragic sight of the stock prices falling. She held her forehead and was in pain. Su Xingchen cried sadly. Mommy, what should we do now? Su Morong tried hard to calm her anger. With a sullen face she said, Hubby, help me get the phone. I want to talk to Xiao Qifeng. The Xiao family was a media tycoon and had a lot of influence in the industry. She wanted him to help block the related media and television reports. Just before Su Morong called Xiao Qifeng, he had already received news from the television station and ordered the news to be banned. Su Morong was naturally very grateful. Su Morong used the Su family's influence and connections to get through all the key points. All the newspapers and television reports were banned. However, the internet was not something she could stop alone. A portion of the video was deleted, but another batch appeared. Su Xingchen personally experienced how Xia Dong felt when she was forced into a desperate situation. However, this was just the beginning. Just as Su Morong was busy using her connections to get rid of the indecent video, her drug addiction kicked in. Xingchen, what's wrong? When Xia Zhenxing realized that something was wrong with her, her whole body was already trembling with tears and snot flowing out. Soon her hands and feet were convulsing and she was foaming at the mouth. Xia Zhenxing was so scared that he quickly called the hospital's emergency number. The ambulance soon arrived and took Su Xingchen to the hospital. After the doctor checked, he said, Mrs. Xia, Mr. Xia, the patient's drug addiction kicked in. Drug addiction kicked in? Su Morong's vision turned black, and she almost fainted. Xia Zhenxing quickly held her and asked anxiously, Doctor, my daughter has never been addicted to drugs. How could her drug addiction kick in? Are you sure you're not mistaken? The doctor shook his head helplessly. We've already checked very carefully. There are 2 needle holes on her arm. They should be left behind by injecting drugs. Xia Zhenxing felt as if he had been struck by lightning. Su Morong slowly recovered and analyzed. Someone must have deliberately injected drugs into Xingqian. Could it have happened last night? Maybe this was Xia Dong's doing. Xia Zhenxing was helpless. Honey, don't think too much. Saving Xingqian is more important. Su Morong snorted coldly. Are you still thinking about your daughter? At the end of the day, you still can't bear to part with her and her mother. Xia Zhenxing gritted his teeth and said, I'm not. If it wasn't for Xingqian, I wouldn't have gone to look for Xia Dong. Honey, we've been married for so many years. Why don't you believe me? Su Morong stared at him for a while until he felt scared. She suddenly frowned and said, Forget it. Xingqian is more important now. The husband and wife returned to Su Xingqian's ward. Seeing her suffering from drug addiction, they felt like their hearts were being cut by a knife. The doctor injected her with drugs to suppress the toxicity, but it didn't have much effect. Xia Zhenxing was burning with anxiety and asked, Doctor, how did this happen? The doctor was sweating profusely. The drugs injected into her body are too strong. The detoxification drugs in the hospital won't work on her. Then what should we do? Let's send her to a specialized detoxification center. Maybe they'll have a way. Su Morong didn't want to send Su Xingqian to a detoxification center. If news of her drug addiction spread, her reputation would be ruined and the entire Su family would be humiliated. However, when she saw her daughter suffering from drug addiction, she couldn't harden her heart. In the end, she had no choice but to send her to a detoxification center. Half an hour later, Su Xingqian pulled through and fell into a deep sleep. When she woke up and found out that her parents wanted to send her to a detoxification center, she crazily shook her head. No, I don't want to go. Mommy, Daddy, I beg you. Don't send me there. In her mind, a detoxification center was as scary as a prison. She didn't want to go there. Su Morong held her hand. Xingqian, Mommy doesn't want to send you there either. But the doctor said that the drug in your body is too strong. Their drugs won't be able to suppress it. If we send you to a detoxification center, there might be hope. No, I don't want to. Mommy, a detoxification center is too scary. There are drug addicts everywhere. Don't send me there. There must be a way. Su Xingqian's eyes were filled with tears as she pitifully begged. However, Su Morong had already made up her mind. No matter what, she couldn't persuade her. Su Xingqian could only pretend to agree. After her parents left her room, she immediately changed her SIM card and called her godfather. After the call connected, she burst into tears. Her godfather was extremely anxious. He thought that she was sad because of the video online, so he quickly comforted her. Baby, don't cry. Godfather is already thinking of a way to deal with those videos. Don't worry. Godfather will definitely help you vent your anger. Su Xingqian cried until she couldn't speak coherently. Godfather. I'm finished. I'm addicted to drugs. Her godfather was shocked. Addicted to drugs? What happened? Boo-hoo, I don't know. Maybe someone injected me with drugs last night. Godfather, what should I do? The doctor said that the drug is very strong. Even the drugs can't suppress it. Am I going to be like this for the rest of my life? Boo. Baby, don't worry. Godfather will think of a way. Her godfather was quick-witted. He knew that Mika Keto had treated Xingqian as the mastermind behind the incident that hurt Xia Dong. That's why he wanted to give her a taste of her own medicine. The drug that he injected into Xingqian was most likely the same one that Su Yinqian injected into Xia Dong. The godfather thought that he wouldn't be able to get any benefits from Beitangxian. So he might as well start with Su Yinqian. Since she had drugs, she might also have drugs for detoxification. Even if she didn't have drugs for detoxification, he could still get samples from her and quickly develop detoxification drugs. When Su Yinqian received her godfather's call, she was at the Old Bailey mansion. Tonight, she followed Bailey Han back to the mansion to visit Old Madam and Old Master. She chatted with Old Madam for a while, and was about to return to her room when she received a call from an unknown number. She sneered. Godfather, how dare you call me? She answered the call as she walked towards the secluded balcony. Her godfather's deep voice came from the other end. Miss Su, good evening. Su Yunqian didn't say anything. She walked to the balcony. The balcony was spacious, and there were rattan chairs and potted plants. She glanced around and saw that there was no one around, so she sat down leisurely. Only then did she reply, Godfather, I'm really honored that you still remember me. At Songshu 566. Chapter 123. The godfather ignored her sarcastic tone and said plainly, I had no choice but to do what I did last time. I didn't want to offend the head of the Senku group. However, Miss Su, you're also very impressive. You offended Mikakito, and yet you're still alive and well. He pretended not to know what she meant, and pushed all the blame to Su Xingqian. There was a pot of tea on the small wooden table in front of the rattan chair. Su Yunqian leisurely poured herself a cup of tea and chuckled. I don't think our relationship is good enough for a casual chat. Why are you looking for me? The godfather smiled. Then I'll get straight to the point. What's the name of the drug you asked Suzaku to inject into Xiaodong? Su Yunqian raised her eyebrows. I can't tell you. The godfather said plainly. I want to know how to detoxify it. Su Yunqian chuckled. I can't tell you. The godfather's voice turned cold. Aren't you afraid that I'll record our conversation and send it to Bailey Han? I know that what you're most afraid of is not being exposed by Mikakito, but Bailey Han finding out your true colors. Su Yunqian's expression changed but quickly returned to normal. She smiled and said, I really can't tell you because it's not on the market yet and it doesn't have an official name. As for the detoxification method, I have no way of knowing. The godfather paused and said, I need a sample. Someone will pick it up from the bench under the biggest tree in the amusement park at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Su Yunqian curled her lips coldly. Godfather, did I say that I would give it to you? The godfather sneered. You can choose not to give it to me, but Bailey Han will receive our conversation tonight, and all the conversations we had when you made the deal with me. What do you think? Su Yunqian's eyes flashed with a sinister light. Very well, you've threatened me. However, I have to remind you that if you dare to leak the drug, I, Su Yunqian, guarantee that you will die without a complete corpse. Under the moonlight, her smile was so eerie that it made people shudder. Her red lips parted slightly as she said word by word, including the person you care about. If I'm not wrong, it's because that person is addicted to drugs. That's why you need to detoxify drugs, right? The godfather's voice was low. Godfather. And I won't leak the drug. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock. She smiled. No problem. Recording? That damned old fox. He actually dared to play dirty. She sneered. Beitangshan was truly ruthless and vicious. He actually took his revenge on her godfather. This was the perfect opportunity to extinguish the fire in her heart. Who is it? She quickly turned her head and looked sharply at the potted plant. There was no movement. She hesitated for a while, and approached the potted plant carefully. When she was in front of the potted plant, she quickly turned around. There was no one behind the potted plant. Knock, knock, knock. At this moment, she heard hurried footsteps behind her. When she turned around, she only saw a shadow flashing behind the wall. Damn it! While she was inspecting this potted plant, he went around to the back of the other potted plant, and then quickly slipped away. She didn't even see who it was. Su Yunqian grabbed the potted plant's yezi angrily and pulled it hard. She threw the yezi in her hand away and dusted her hands. She wanted to go back to her room to find the person who was eavesdropping on them. But when she was 2 steps away from the potted plant, she noticed something on the ground. She bent down to pick it up. It was a small button. The potted plant must have scraped off the person who was eavesdropping on them. Su Yunqian raised her eyebrows proudly, and clenched the button tightly in her palm. Yunqian, why haven't you gone to bed yet? Su Yunqian ran into Bailey Han in his pajamas as she walked down the corridor on the 2nd floor. She approached him and smiled. After chatting with Grandma, I went to sit on the balcony for a while. Han, Why haven't you gone to bed yet? I'm going to check on Xiao Yi. Bailey Han didn't know when it started, but he had developed a habit of going to his son's room to check on him every night before he went to bed. I'll go with you. Su Yinxian held his arm, and the two of them walked to the door of Bailey Yi's room. They knocked lightly, but no one answered. Bailey Han guessed that Bailey Yi was probably asleep. Bailey Han gently turned the doorknob and walked in. In the light of the corridor, Su Yinxian saw Bailey Yi lying quietly on the bed. He seemed to have fallen asleep. Her eyes fell on his white silk pajamas and her eyes flashed. Bailey Han walked to the bed with light footsteps and placed Bailey Yi's arm, which was outside the blanket, under the blanket. He's asleep. Let's go. He lowered his voice and said to Su Yinxian. Su Yinxian nodded and followed him out of the room. After the door closed, the little man suddenly opened his eyes. He pulled back the covers and jumped down from the bed. He was wearing white silk pajamas, but the button at the bottom of the pajamas was missing. You're so annoying. Where did it go? He frowned and looked around barefooted. Suddenly he looked up. It couldn't have fallen on the balcony, right? He frowned in distress. After thinking for a while, he decided to go to the balcony to look for it. He put on his shoes, found a small flashlight, and sneaked to the balcony. He searched here and there, but he couldn't find the button. The***. It couldn't have been picked up by that annoying woman, could it? Are you looking for this? A slightly amused female voice suddenly came from behind him. Bailey Yi was shocked. He turned around and saw Su Yinxian's smiling face. She was holding a white button in her hand. He looked cold and didn't say a word. She smiled affectionately. Xiao Yi, I thought you were already asleep. Bailey Yi didn't say a word and walked past her. She looked at his back and said softly, Xiao Yi, what did you hear just now? He suddenly paused and replied coldly, we were so far away. I didn't hear anything. Bailey Yi wasn't lying. He really didn't hear the conversation between her and his godfather, but he heard her call him godfather. That's good. Here, I'll return the button to you. Don't lose it again. She bent down with a smile and handed the button to him. He took the button and said politely, thank you, Auntie Yinxian. Good night. Good night. Su Yinxian patted his head. Her anxious heart relaxed. A child who was only 4 years old, no matter how smart he was, he wouldn't be able to dig out anything from what she had just said. However, just in case, Su Yinxian contacted her godfather after returning to her room, and changed the time and location of the transaction. The next morning, her godfather obtained a drug sample from Su Yinxian. Using his powerful connections, he sent the drug to the research lab for analysis and research to develop a drug withdrawal drug. However, drug withdrawal wasn't something that could be completed in a day or two. Before the antidote was developed, Su Xingqian could only accept his parents' arrangement, and was secretly sent to a drug rehabilitation center. Su Morong thought that by sending her daughter to a drug rehabilitation center in the middle of the night, she could avoid being found out. She didn't expect that the next day, news of a rich girl taking drugs and having a daring 4P with a cowherd would spread like wildfire on the internet. Su Morong was both anxious and anxious. She was so busy that she couldn't stop the news from spreading like wildfire. Just as she expected, the Su Corporation's shares fell rapidly. In the end, she had no choice but to negotiate with Mika Keto. Mika Keto refused to meet and asked Jiang Dao to deal with it. When Jiang Dao spoke with Su Morong, he clearly expressed that Mika Keto had nothing to do with him, and was purely Su Xingqian's guess. In the end, Jiang Dao sneered, if President Su can't produce evidence to prove that our president did it, then I hope that President Su will not act irrationally. Su Morong was furious, but she couldn't do anything. Everything was just her daughter's guess, and there was no concrete evidence. If she fell out with the other party, she would only embarrass herself. Therefore, she suppressed her anger and left. However, her hatred for Xiaodong and Mika Keto deepened. In the drug rehabilitation center, Su Xingqian's drug addiction kicked in. Her body was in so much pain that it didn't feel like it belonged to her. She wailed in pain and rolled around on the bed. She watched as the medical staff injected her with drugs, but it didn't have any effect. It was so painful that she wanted to bang her head against the wall. She really did it. Her strength suddenly increased tremendously. She pushed away the medical staff beside her and slammed her head against the wall. Blood slowly flowed down her forehead. The medical staff quickly rushed forward to hold her hands and feet tightly. Someone took a rope to tie her up, and someone urgently treated the wound on her head. She laughed crazily and then burst into tears. Why? She had used so much strength, but she was still conscious. Her body felt like it was being cut into pieces. It was so painful that she wanted to die. Give me, give me, give me. She trembled and begged. She looked blankly at the white figure in front of her. Give me drugs, give me drugs. Miss Sue, pull yourself together. It will be over soon. A cold female voice comforted her. But she didn't listen. Her mind was only filled with the word drugs. She crazily twisted her body, trying to break the rope that tied her up. Because of her violent movements, the wound on her forehead that had just been treated began to bleed again. What do we do? The patient's emotions are too agitated. Inject her with a tranquilizer. Someone injected an injection into her arm. She gradually calmed down and fell into a deep sleep. When Su Xingchen woke up, it was already the morning of the next day. There were faint voices outside the window. Because of Su Morong's arrangement, she stayed in a special ward on the second floor. It was luxuriously decorated and had a complete set of appliances. Outside the window was a garden. She felt that the voices outside the window were particularly irritating. She unhappily frowned and moved her sore body. She was about to get out of bed and close the window when she inadvertently heard her name. She leaned against the window and carefully listened to the two people's conversation downstairs. The two people who were talking were women wearing hospital gowns. They should be the same as her, here to detox. Su Xingchen? You mean that rich girl who had a 4P with a male prostitute? Is she really in our detox center? Welfare Songshu 566. Chapter 124. Su Xingchen? Are you talking about the rich girl who had a 4P with a male prostitute? Is she really in our drug rehabilitation center? She'll lower your voice. She lives on the second floor. You haven't gone online today, right? Not only did she play with men, but she's also addicted to drugs. Otherwise, why would she be sent to the drug rehabilitation center? Wow, I didn't expect her to do such a thing when she looks so innocent and cute. The other woman laughed mockingly. Those rich families look bright and beautiful, but who knows if they're so rotten and dirty that it's unimaginable. Take Su Xingchen's mother for example. I heard that her current husband was snatched away by her. That man used to have a wife and daughter. No way, I've seen Su Morong's interview in a magazine. She looks so noble and elegant. How could she be a mistress and snatch someone else's husband? She's faking it. There's a saying that goes like a rich lady in front of people, but a slut in bed. That's a woman like her. Su Xingchen was so angry that she gnashed her teeth. Her pretty cheeks were distorted. She casually picked up the vase on the table and threw it downstairs. Following a loud pung sound, two screams followed closely behind. Su Xingchen looked coldly at the two people downstairs. The woman who spoke ill of her mother held her leg and cried out in pain. Who threw the vase? Come out. The other woman said anxiously, Don't worry about who threw it first. Your leg is bleeding a lot. I'll help you to see a doctor. The two left in a sorry state, leaving behind a floor full of broken porcelain and a pool of blood. Su Xingchen sneered. Looking at the wound on her forehead in the mirror, she broke the mirror in a fit of anger. Damn it. She cherished her face the most. Her forehead was actually injured. It would definitely leave a scar. Brother Han would definitely despise her. Xiaodong, it was all Xiaodong's fault. If it weren't for her, Mika Keto wouldn't have caused her to be so miserable. In Su Xingchen's rage, a thought suddenly sprouted. Xiaodong, didn't she just have a pretty face? If she was no longer beautiful, would those men still flock to her? This time, she would not let anyone else do it. She wanted to see Xiaodong grovel in pain in front of her with her own eyes. No, not only Xiaodong, but also Su Yinqian. 2 days, in 2 more days, she would become Big Brother Han's bride. She would not allow it. Su Xingchen madly laughed. Her reason had already been corroded by jealousy and anger, and a vicious scheme gradually formed in her mind. In 2 days, Su Yinqian, that annoying woman, would marry Daddy. How could she stop her? Bailey Yi sat in the classroom, looking at the teacher seriously, but in his heart, he was thinking about his own matters. Suddenly, someone poked his arm. He turned around with a cold face. His deskmate shrunk his neck and carefully handed him a small ball of paper. He innocently pointed at Xia Xiaobao across the aisle. Bailey Yi turned his cold gaze to Xia Xiaobao. Xia Xiaobao pursed his lips, indicating for him to look at the paper. He took the crumpled paper ball in disgust and unfolded it. There was a line of Chinese characters written in crooked Chinese characters. Hey, annoying fellow, do you also hate Su Yinqian and don't want her to marry your father? Bailey Yi's handsome eyebrows furrowed. He raised his head and glared fiercely at Xia Xiaobao. He picked up his pen and quickly replied with a line of words. Xia Xiaobao read his reply and was so angry that he laughed. Hey, annoying fellow, what are you up to now? Xiaobao puffed up his cheeks, rolled his eyes and replied. Annoying fellow, I'll see you by the flower bed after class. The paper ball was passed back to Bailey Yi. He glanced at it and threw it into the trash can with a cold face. Xiaobao shrugged. After class, Xiaobao squatted by the flower bed. He had been squatting there for almost 5 minutes, but the annoying Bailey Yi still hadn't arrived. He angrily poked the ants crawling around in the tree hole with a branch and muttered angrily. Damn annoying fellow, why aren't you here yet? If you still don't come, I'll tell everyone that you like to eat candy. Bam! Xiaobao was hit hard on the head. He looked at the pebble that had jumped off his head and rolled to the ground. He raised his head fiercely and asked, Who is it? On the tree, Bailey Yi patted the hand that had pinched the pebble and snorted disdainfully. Annoying fellow, I've been on your head for 5 minutes. When are you going to realize that I'm here? Xiaobao opened his mouth and kicked the tree trunk angrily. Annoying fellow, get down here. Bailey Yi sneered and slid down the tree trunk. He jumped in front of Xiaobao and raised his chin coolly. I'm down. What do you want? Xiaobao glared at him, and he looked back at him disdainfully. Xiaobao suddenly raised his eyebrows and snorted. It looks like you don't want to work with me anymore. Forget it then. Just take it that I've suddenly lost my mind. I'm leaving now. After he finished speaking, he didn't wait for Bailey Yi's reaction. He turned around and walked calmly to the school building with his arms behind his back. Annoying fellow, wait a minute. Tell me clearly. How do you want to work with me? Bailey Yi's cold voice came from behind. Xiaobao raised his eyebrows proudly and turned around with a smile. Annoying fellow, you're smart. If I remember correctly, in 2 days, Su Yinqian will be your new mommy. Do you really not mind? Bailey Yi's cold little face showed displeasure. Annoying fellow, don't say such useless things to provoke me. Tell me your plan first, and I'll decide whether to work with you or not. Okay then. Xiaobao shrugged indifferently and approached him. He immediately took 2 steps back vigilantly with a look of disgust. What are you doing? Xiaobao rolled his eyes. Hey, you're not a girl. What can I do to you? Come here. I have something to tell you in private. Bailey Yi snorted awkwardly, but his legs moved Gigai towards him. The 2 little heads huddled together and whispered for a while until the bell rang to signal the start of class. On the way back to the classroom, Bailey Yi asked, Why did you help me? Xiaobao chuckled. Idiot, of course it's because I hate Su Yinqian. That annoying woman dared to bully my mommy. If I don't get back at her, I'll be letting down my surname. Bailey Yi looked at him strangely. Your daddy is Mikakito. Why is your surname Xia? Xiaobao glared at him. Is there a problem with me taking my mommy's surname? Who made the rule that I have to take daddy's surname? Oh. Indeed, no one made the rule. Your mommy and daddy seem to know each other. Do you know what's going on? Xiaobao rolled his eyes at him. How would I know? Children shouldn't get involved in adult matters. Who was the one who was discussing with him how to break up the adult's marriage? Glamour magazine, chief editor's office. Xia Dong picked up the phone on the desk. Hello, I'm Xia Dong. On the other end of the phone was a feminine man's voice. Hello, Miss Xia. I'm Leo. Xia Dong was shocked. Leo? Leo, the chief fashion designer of Yue? That's right. It's me. Mr. Leo, why are you looking for me? Yue was an internationally renowned fashion brand. The chief designer, Leo, was known as a genius designer and was very popular. Glamour magazine had wanted to do an exclusive interview with him before, but he rejected it. Leo's tone was arrogant. Miss Xia, I heard from my assistant that your magazine wanted to do an exclusive interview with me. I didn't have time in the past, so I rejected it. Tomorrow at 3 p.m., if you still want to do an exclusive interview, then come to the church on time. By the way, I refuse to take photos, so you can come alone. I don't need a photographer. Xiaodong said. Mr. Leo, I'm glad you changed your mind. But why do you want to do it at the church? Leo said impatiently. Because I've designed a dress for a fashion show on the lawn behind the church. If you don't have time, then pretend I didn't say anything. Goodbye. Before Xiaodong could say anything, the other party hung up the phone. She raised her eyebrows speechlessly. This Leo's character was really as bad as the rumors said. Although his character was bad, she still decided to meet him for the sake of the magazine. After all, it was a rare opportunity. Leo was naked and tied to the bed. The landline in his hand was snatched away by someone. His handsome face was extremely dark as he stared at the woman standing by the bed. The woman was wearing a tight black suit, big black sunglasses on her face, gloves on her hands, and a gun. The muzzle of the gun was aimed at the handsome foreign man standing at the bathroom door. The handsome man was naked from the waist up, and his lower body was wrapped in a bath towel. His hair was still dripping wet. It was obvious that he had just come out of the shower and was caught red-handed. Leo said angrily, I've done as you said. Hurry up and let Jerry and me go. Jerry was the handsome foreign man who had just come out of the shower. He was also Leo's lover. They had just finished their exercise in bed and Jerry had gone to take a shower. This damned woman barged in and tied Leo up. She then pointed a gun at Jerry, who had heard the commotion, and came out to check. Then, she used their lives to force Leo to call Xiaodong and say what he had said in her interview. The woman chuckled. I didn't expect the famous designer Leo to be gay. If the media finds out, who knows how many women will be heartbroken. Leo said angrily, We've agreed. I'll do as you say and you'll let Jerry and me go. Are you going back on your word? The woman waved the phone in her hand. Of course not. I'm just worried that you'll cause trouble for me. So I want to leave some evidence that can be used against me. Don't worry, as long as you Gigai don't talk nonsense, I won't expose these photos. Leo couldn't wait to pounce on her and tear her apart. You better keep your word. If you go back on your words, I'll definitely not let you go. The woman chuckled and waved the gun, signaling Jerry to come over. She used a rope that she had already prepared and tied Jerry up. Then, she locked the door and swaggered out. After she went out, she didn't immediately leave the hotel. Instead, she went into the bathroom, changed her clothes and took off her sunglasses, revealing Su Xingchen's sweet and charming face. Beauty novel Xingwu 799. Chapter 125. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Xiaodong brought Ding Hao to the church that Leo had mentioned. They went to the lawn behind the church, but did not see any fashion show. However, there were people from the wedding company preparing the red carpet and wreaths. It seemed that a wedding was about to be held here. Chief editor, how did this happen? Ding Hao was confused. Xiaodong was also confused. That's strange. Leo told me about it. How did this happen? Wait a minute. I'll call him and ask. She called the number that Leo had called yesterday, but no one answered. She called his cell phone again, but it was turned off. She frowned. Was Leo playing with her? While she was thinking, a strange and beautiful woman walked over. She asked hesitantly, Are you the chief editor of Glamour magazine? Xiaodong replied, I am. And you are? The woman smiled and said, I'm Leo's assistant, Ayan. Leo's runway show changed its location at the last minute. He asked me to wait for you here and take you there. After that, she turned her eyes to Ding Hao and asked, This is? Xiaodong introduced. This is my colleague Ding Hao. He's in charge of photography. Yen said awkwardly. I'm sorry. Leo said that he only wants to see Miss Xia. Xiaodong smiled. Ding Hao is only taking photos of the fashion show. He won't expose Leo's image. Yen said apologetically. I'm sorry, Miss Xia, Mr. Ding. I'm just following Leo's instructions. Well, Ding Hao, you go back to the company first. Xiaodong did not force Ding Hao and let him go back first. Then she followed Yen to see Leo. Yen took her to the place where the wedding company was preparing for the wedding and said, Miss Xia, wait here for 2 minutes. I'll go to the dressing room to get Leo. Although she was full of doubts, Xiaodong nodded. After waiting for a few minutes, Yen and Leo did not appear. Just when Xiaodong was about to lose her patience, the wedding venue next to them was ready. A staff member held a walkie-talkie and said, We're ready. Now let's welcome the priest and the newcomer. Since she had nothing else to do, she might as well just observe the ceremony. She found a good spot and turned her gaze to the entrance. The priest smiled as he walked onto the stage. Immediately after, a pair of well-dressed newlyweds walked in hand. Xiaodong suddenly opened her eyes wide. It was actually Bailey Han and Su Yinqian. The two of them also saw her. Bailey Han's deep eyes narrowed, and Su Yinqian's smiling face stiffened for a moment. Xiaodong smiled awkwardly and nodded at them. Her mind raced. Tomorrow was their wedding day. Today, they should have come to the church to rehearse. Except for the first glance, Bailey Han treated Xiaodong as heir after that. He held Su Yinqian's arm and walked to the priest. Xiaodong stood not far away and watched them say, I do in front of the priest. She watched them look at each other affectionately. She watched them hug and kiss each other. She could not help but smile. This was the best ending. Suddenly, an accident happened. With a loud bang, the hydrogen balloon floating in the air with love written all over it suddenly exploded, and instantly turned into fragments that fell like rain. Bailey Han pulled Su Yinqian away from the fragments. His concern was obvious. A staff member ran over and kept apologizing. Bailey Han said calmly, It's okay. This was just an accident. The staff member smiled gratefully. The wedding rehearsal is over. The two of you can go to the changing room to change. Miss Su, this way please. Su Yinqian was wearing a long wedding dress with a train. The staff member helped her carry the train to the changing room. You can go out. I can do it myself. Su Yinqian smiled elegantly. The staff member left the room and stood at the door. He glanced around and quickly switched the women's changing room sign with the women's dressing room sign. The wedding rehearsal was over, but Leo still had not appeared. Xiaodong shrugged helplessly and decided to go to the dressing room to see if Leo was really there. Yen suddenly rushed over. Miss Xia, I'm sorry to have made you wait for so long. Leo is ready. Please go to the dressing room. Xiaodong followed her to the dressing room. When they reached the door, Yen knocked on the door and said, Xiaodong, Miss Xia is here. Su Yinqian was stunned. What was Xiaodong doing here? Yen did not wait for the person in the room to answer. He opened the door gently and smiled. Miss Xia, you can go in now. Xiaodong said. Thank you. Just as she stepped into the dressing room, the door was locked. There were many clothes hanging in the room. A woman with long hair sat in front of the mirror. The woman turned her head and smiled. Miss Xia. It was Su Yinqian. Xiaodong was stunned. She was here to see Leo. Why was Su Yinqian here? Where was Leo? I'm sorry. I might have come to the wrong place. Xiaodong had a bad feeling. She walked quickly to the door and tried to open the door. However, the door could not be turned. It seemed that someone had locked it from the outside. Su Yinqian's smile turned cold. Since there are only the two of us here, you can tell me the truth. Why are you here today? Xiaodong gave up on the door handle. She wondered if Lu Xing had found out that she was trapped here. She said calmly, Miss Su, you're thinking too much. I'm here for something else. The door has been locked from the outside. Let's think about how to get out first. Su Yinqian was not anxious at all. Anyway, Bailey Han would definitely look for her if he found out that she had not gone out for a long time. She raised her eyebrows and said, What a coincidence. I'm rehearsing here and you're here for something? Xiaodong's voice turned cold. It's just a coincidence. Of course, there's another possibility. I've been set up. This room didn't look like a dressing room at all. It should be a changing room. Why did that woman called Diane bring him here on purpose? Clap clap. A clear clapping sound came from behind the row of hanging clothes. Xiaodong and Su Yinqian looked over at the same time. A petite figure peeled off the clothes and slowly walked out. She had a charming smile on her face. As expected of big sister Xiaodong. You're so smart. Su Xingqian. Xiaodong and Su Yunxian's expressions changed at the same time. That's right. It's me. It wasn't easy for me to sneak out of the drug rehabilitation center to see you. Are you happy? Su Xingqian smiled at Xiaodong and said, Big sister Xiaodong, you're really smart. You know that you've been set up by me. However, your reaction is too slow. It's too late to react now. Xiaodong endured the throbbing veins on her forehead and said coldly, Su Xingqian, what do you want now? Su Xingqian walked in front of them and smiled happily. Actually, I don't want to do anything. I'm just a little angry that you've caused me to be so miserable. That's why I racked my brains to invite you all here so that we can have a good gathering. She stroked Su Yunqian's wedding dress that she had just changed out of and said with a smile, Big sister Yunqian, your wedding dress is really beautiful. It's a pity that the bride won't be able to match it soon. Su Yunqian's expression changed. What do you mean by that? Su Xingqian did not answer. Her gaze fell on Xiaodong's face and she chuckled. Big sister Xiaodong, your face is also very beautiful. No wonder brother Han and Mika Kito both like you. Say, if it's not as beautiful as it is now, will they still like you? Xiaodong frowned and stepped back without a trace, pulling away from her. Su Xingqian, haven't you been punished enough? What are you still up to? There's no point in telling you. Su Xingqian seemed to have inadvertently reached out and picked up the glass spray bottle labeled makeup remover in front of the dressing mirror. Then with lightning speed, she sprayed it at Xiaodong and Su Yinqian. Xiaodong was already on guard. The moment she picked up the glass bottle, she was ready to dodge. Coupled with her nimble movements, it was not difficult for her to dodge the liquid in the bottle. Su Yinqian was also very smart. She sensed that something was wrong from Su Xingqian's words. The moment she sprayed the liquid, she pulled the wedding dress in front of her. Unfortunately, Su Xingqian's main target was her. So even if she dodged her face and body, a few drops of liquid still stained the back of her hand. In an instant, the places that were stained by the liquid felt as if they were being burned. It was a burning pain. She cried out in alarm. Su Xingqian, what are you spraying? It's a strong acid. How is it? Do you like my present? Su Xingqian's smile was twisted. Seeing that Su Yunqian had something to cover her, she aimed the spray at Xiaodong again. The moment the strong acid was sprayed, Xiaodong suddenly crouched down and quickly pulled off a piece of clothing from the hanger to wrap around her head and face. Haha, you two look really pitiful right now. Su Xingqian knew that the door was locked by the people she bribed. He was not worried that they would escape at all, and used his words to provoke them without restraint. Su Yinqian bit her lip. The back of her hand was hurting badly. If she did not escape, she might not be able to keep her face. While dodging Su Xingqian's attack, she moved closer to the dressing table. Her phone was there. She quietly stretched out her hand and took advantage of the time when Su Xingqian was attacking Xiaodong to secretly take the phone. She pressed the speed dial and dialed Bailey Han's number. Bailey Han changed his clothes and waited for Su Yinqian in the church. Suddenly, he received her call. He pressed the answer button and heard her voice. Xingqian, don't be agitated. Put down the strong acid in your hand. If you have something to say, we can talk about it. Bailey Han suddenly got up and ran to the changing room. In the changing room, after Su Xingqian heard Su Yunqian's words, he laughed out loud. My good cousin, you want to stall for time and wait for Han Gij to save you? I advise you not to waste your time. Because I don't want to play with you anymore. I want to end this quickly. After speaking, Su Xingqian pulled out a gun from his waist and pointed the muzzle at Xiaodong's head. He sneered and said, Xiaodong, send my regards to your bitch mother who passed away. Attention, Xinwu 799. Chapter 126. With that, Su Xingchen pulled out a pistol from his waist and pointed the muzzle at Xia Dong's head. He sneered, "Xia Dong, send my regards to your bitch of a mother who has already passed away." Xia Dong stared at the black muzzle of the gun. She was so nervous that her back was sweating. She tried her best to remain calm. "Su Xingchen, if you kill me, what awaits you will be a few decades of prison life. Do you want to spend the rest of your life in prison?" Su Xingchen's eyes were wild. "I've already thrown caution to the wind. If I can't have it, then no one else can. Xia Dong, don't worry, you won't be alone. Su Yinqian will soon accompany you." She gave a twisted and cruel smile and slowly pulled the trigger. Bang! A loud sound was heard. The door was kicked open and a black figure hugged Xia Dong like a bolt of lightning. Like a hunting leopard, he quickly brought her around and dodged Su Xingchen's muzzle. What came out of the muzzle was not a bullet, but a liquid. The liquid stained the wall, and the wall immediately began to bubble. Just as Xia Dong's heart was pounding, the black figure had already let go of her. His body was as fast as the wind as he pounced on Su Xingchen. His movements were fast and fierce. In the blink of an eye, the black figure had already grabbed her wrist. While the two were fighting for the pistol, the trigger was pulled. The black figure raised the muzzle and aimed it at Su Xingchen's face. The liquid from the gun accurately sprayed onto her face. She threw the gun away and covered her face with both hands as she screamed. Her skin was rapidly smoking and rotting at a speed visible to the naked eye. This frightening scene took place within a short span of 10 seconds. Xia Dong and Su Yinqian then realized that she was not using a real pistol, but a water gun filled with strong acid. Su Xingchen's hands trembled as he covered his cheeks. He wailed mournfully and staggered out of the changing room. The black figure did not chase after him. He turned around and faced Xia Dong. It was Lu Xing. His face was expressionless, but his eyes were filled with worry. "Miss Xia, are you okay?" "Thank you, I'm fine." Xia Dong glanced at the place where Su Xingchen was just standing. There was still a strong acid on the floor. She could not help but feel a burst of fear. Su Yinqian's legs went soft. She held onto the dressing table to stand. She knew that if Su Xingchen succeeded and shot Xia Dong, she would be the second. "Yinqian, are you okay?" Bailey Han could tell that something was wrong from the phone call, so he hurried over. His hair was a little messy, and he looked anxious. "Han, I'm fine." Su Yinqian bit her lips. Her eyes were filled with tears. She seemed to be frightened. "But the wedding dress is ruined." The wedding dress that she had used to block the strong acid had been corroded into tatters by the strong acid, and it was full of small holes. "It's good that you're okay." Bailey Han's heart, which had been in his throat, returned to his chest. He hugged her tightly and looked around. Only then did he notice Xia Dong and Lu Xing's presence. Xia Dong was also in a sorry state. Even the small jacket she was wearing had a few small holes corroded, revealing the straps inside. Bailey Han's body stiffened. He wanted to let go of Su Yinqian, but she hugged him even tighter. Xia Dong smiled faintly. "Mr. Bailey, Miss Su, I won't disturb you anymore." She and Lu Xing walked out of the changing room calmly. "Miss Xia," Lu Xing suddenly called her. She turned around in surprise. A suit jacket was draped over her shoulders. Lu Xing's black-rimmed glasses covered his eyes. He said faintly, "Your clothes are torn." Xia Dong was embarrassed. She almost forgot that her jacket was corroded by the acid. "Thank you." "You're welcome." Xia Dong looked at his serious face and wanted to laugh. But when she thought of Su Xingchen who ran away, her heart sank. "Lu Xing, Su Xingchen ran away. I'm worried that she won't give up." Lu Xing was expressionless. "Miss Xia, don't worry. What awaits Su Xingchen is jail time." Xia Dong shook his head. "The Su family is too powerful. Su Morong won't just watch her only daughter go to prison. Su Xingchen's crime is just intentional assault. Coupled with the attempted assault, there's no real evidence. Her crime seems too easy to exonerate." Lu Xing's lips curled up strangely. "Miss Xia, you don't have to worry about this. I believe that boss will have a way." Just as Xia Dong and Lu Xing left, Bailey Han also walked out of the changing room with Su Yinqian in his arms. Su Yinqian leaned against his arm. The burned skin on the back of her hand had already been treated. Bailey Han sent her to the hospital. Although the burn area was not big, it would definitely leave a scar, and it would take more than a week for the wound to heal. After leaving the hospital, Bailey Han drove Su Yinqian home. She bit her lip and said awkwardly, "Han, we're going to have our wedding tomorrow. But the wedding dress is ruined and my hand is injured. What should we do?" Bailey Han thought for a moment and said, "The wedding dress is easy to solve. I'll ask Anson for help. As for the wound on your hand," he glanced at the back of her hand. "After wearing white gloves, you can barely see the gauze on the back of your hand. We'll simplify the wedding and you won't have to work too hard." Su Yinqian tilted her head and looked into his eyes. She said firmly, "The wedding will be held as usual. I'm fine, Han. I don't want our wedding to have any regrets." "Okay, I'll listen to you." Bailey Han's lips curled up. When he was about to say something, his phone suddenly rang. He hung up the headset and heard Madame Gu's voice. "Okay, Grandma. We'll go back tonight." Bailey Han said a few words to Madame Gu and hung up the phone. He said to Su Yinqian, "Yinqian, Grandma said that she wants to see us tonight. She wants us to go home." Su Yinqian smiled. "Okay, but don't tell Grandma that I'm injured in case she's worried." Bailey Han changed the direction, and the car drove to Bailey's old house. When they arrived at the old house, Madame Gu and Bailey were playing chess in the living room. The old woman and the young man huddled together. Madame Gu cried, No, baby, I regret it. I shouldn't have done this." Bailey puffed up his cheeks and said helplessly, "Great-grandma, you've already regretted 5 moves. Then let me regret it again. Baby, I'm your great-grandma. Don't be so calculative." Bailey Yi's little face scrunched up. Was this old child who always regretted her moves and refused to grow up really the strict and decisive Madame Bailey? Bailey Han couldn't help but smile when he saw Madame Gu's shameless look and his son's distressed little face. He held Su Yinqian's arm and walked towards them. "Grandma, we're back." Su Yinqian smiled. "Grandma Xiao Yi, you're playing chess." "Daddy, Auntie Yinqian." Bailey Yi stood up from the small chair and greeted them politely. Old Madame saw the bandaged back of Su Yinqian's hand at a glance. She looked concerned. "Yinqian, what happened to your hand? Is it serious? Come here and let me take a look." "It's nothing serious. I accidentally rubbed it." Su Yinqian let go of Bailey Han's arm and walked elegantly to Madame Gu's side and sat down. Madame Gu lifted her wrist and carefully examined it. "Oh, the bandage is so thick. Are you sure it's okay? Will it affect tomorrow's wedding?" "It's really fine, Grandma. Don't worry. It won't affect tomorrow's wedding." Madame Gu was relieved when she heard that it wasn't serious. She smiled and asked, "Did the rehearsal go smoothly today? Tell Grandma about it." Su Yinqian and Bailey Han looked at each other and said with a smile, "It went well. Grandma, why did you call us back?" "It's nothing serious. I just wanted to tell you guys to come back and tell you some things to pay attention to when you hold the wedding." Madame Gu asked them to sit beside her and told them a lot of details. They listened patiently and asked questions from time to time. Madame Gu was very satisfied with their serious attitude. After dinner, Bailey Han was called to the study by Madame Gu. "Han, I actually called you back today for something else." Madame Gu sat in the rattan chair with a hint of sadness in her eyes. "Xiaoyi called me today and said, 'Great-grandma, Daddy and Auntie Yinqian are married. Can I not call Auntie Yinqian Mommy? Great-grandma, when Daddy and Auntie Yinqian have Xiaobao, will they still love me?'" Bailey Han's body stiffened and his chest suddenly tightened. Madame Gu wiped the corners of her eyes. "Han, I said this to tell you that no matter what happens in the future, Xiaoyi will always be Bailey's eldest grandson." Bailey Han couldn't describe his feelings at that moment. Bitterness, guilt, heartache, all at the same time. He secretly clenched and unclenched his fists. After a long time he said, "Grandma, I understand. Xiaoyi is my son. I won't let him suffer in the slightest." "I'm relieved to hear that." Madame Gu nodded in satisfaction. Suddenly, she thought of something and asked, "What's with the injury on the back of Yinqian's hand? Did she really scratch it?" Her eyes were burning and full of suspicion. Bailey Han knew that he couldn't hide it from her, so he briefly told her what happened in the afternoon. Madame Gu couldn't help but sigh. I didn't expect Xingqian to be so vicious. Yinqian is her cousin. She deliberately avoided Xia Dong. Bailey Han pursed his lips and didn't say a word. Madame Gu seemed to have been hit by this incident. She waved her hand tiredly. According to customs, Yinqian is getting married from her parents' home. It's getting late. You should send her back quickly. Let Xiaoyi stay in the mansion tonight. Bailey Han bid farewell to Madame Gu and walked out of the study. On the other side, Su Yinqian watched Bailey Han and Madame Gu go upstairs. She suggested that Bailey Yi go back to his room to rest. Bailey Yi dismissed the servants and sat down beside the unfinished game of Go. He didn't even raise his head as he answered. Auntie Yinqian, please wait a moment. Su Yinqian could only sit beside him and watch him play Go with himself. His small face looked serious. Sometimes he frowned, sometimes he curled his lips, and sometimes he moved the Go pieces. After about 10 minutes, the sensor hidden under his sleeve suddenly vibrated. He nonchalantly pushed away the unfinished Go pieces and stood up. He smiled politely like a gentleman. Auntie Yinqian, we can go now. Su Yinqian glanced at the Go board. Why aren't you playing? You haven't finished yet, have you? He shrugged indifferently. His rosy cheeks looked mature. I'm bored. I'm not playing anymore. All right, let's go upstairs. Su Yinqian's lips twitched. She smiled and bent down, wanting to hold his hand. He reached out his hand Gigai and let her hold it. She led him up the stairs. When they turned the corner, he suddenly looked up and asked curiously, Auntie Yinqian, who is Godfather? Su Yinqian was stunned for a moment. She suddenly laughed. Xiaoyi, why did you suddenly ask this question? Bailey Yi looked innocent. He blinked and said, because I heard you talking to Godfather on the phone that night. I actually know who Godfather is. Godfather is the middleman of the murder organization in a city. Am I right, Auntie Yinqian? When he heard the title Godfather, that night, he secretly looked up his identity, but he didn't find any information. Later, Xia Xiaobao wanted to work with him, so he specially asked Xia Xiaobao. He didn't expect that guy to tell him that Godfather was the middleman of the murder organization, just by typing on the computer. He was jealous of that guy's database for a long time. Su Yinqian's expression changed. She lowered her voice. Xiaoyi, don't talk nonsense. The person on the phone with me that night was the priest of the church. We were discussing the wedding, not Godfather. But I heard it very clearly. You called him Godfather. Bailey Yi raised his voice. His pink cheeks had an innocent look of doubt. Auntie Yinqian, why did you contact Godfather? Are you going to ask him to help you kill people? His voice was very loud, and it sounded very clear in the empty stairwell. Su Yinqian panicked and subconsciously covered his mouth. Xiaoyi, why would I do that kind of thing? Don't talk nonsense. Bailey Yi struggled. He used both his hands to pry her hands away and kicked her calves. His bright eyes stared at her, making her feel like she was being seen through. She reflexively covered his mouth even harder. His mouth and nose were covered, and he felt very uncomfortable. His white cheeks turned red, and his black eyes were filled with tears. He looked extremely pitiful. Su Yinqian didn't feel any pity for him. She was panicking, afraid that he would tell others about this. Coincidentally, there was no one around, so no one would know what she was doing. Bailey Yi suddenly bit her palm. His sharp teeth made her palm hurt, and she subconsciously pushed him away. Bailey Han came down from the study on the 3rd floor and slowly walked down. When he reached the stairs on the 2nd floor, he suddenly heard Bailey Yi say loudly, Auntie Yinqian, why did you contact Godfather? Are you going to ask him to help you kill people? He suddenly stopped in his tracks. There was suddenly no sound downstairs. His heart tightened, and he quickened his pace to run downstairs. Then he saw a shocking scene. His son rolled down the stairs, and Su Yinqian stood on the stairs like a statue. She seemed to be scared out of her wits. Come and see. Songshu 566. Chapter 127. Su Yunqian appeared to be scared out of her wits, but in fact, she had already heard the sound of hurried footsteps. She rushed downstairs before Bailey Han could, shouting in a panic, "Xiaoyi, Xiaoyi." A black shadow suddenly flashed past. She was fast, but Bailey Han was faster than her. He sprinted madly, trying to catch the little ball that was rolling faster and faster, but he couldn't catch him no matter how hard he tried. Bailey Han simply threw himself forward and rolled down with all his might. The moment the little ball landed on the ground, he stomped his feet and crawled on the ground, using his own body to cushion his son's body. The moment Bailey hit his back, he quickly put his hands behind his back to protect him, then carried him to his front. "Xiaoyi, Xiaoyi." Bailey Han's low voice was filled with anxiety. He suddenly looked up at Su Yunqian, who was stunned. "What are you doing? Call an ambulance." This was the first time Su Yunqian had seen him so angry. She pinched her palm with her fingernails and quickly ran to the landline. His son's eyes were tightly shut. His little face was pale and bloodless, and his forehead was bleeding. Bailey Han's heart ached. He picked him up from the ground and placed him steadily on the sofa. With such a big commotion in the living room, Old Madam and the others were finally alarmed. They all came downstairs and saw Bailey lying there unconscious. They were so shocked that they almost fainted. With Bai Jinxiu's help, Old Madam trembled as she approached. What's going on? How is Xiaoyi?" Xiaoyi was unconscious, and Bailey Han's face was pale. He said in a low voice, "Xiaoyi rolled down the stairs and injured his forehead. We can only know if it's serious after the examination." Old Madam's body trembled, and Bai Jinxiu quickly held her and comforted her. "Mom, don't worry. Xiaoyi will be fine." The ambulance rushed over quickly, and Bailey Han followed them into the ambulance. The driver drove Old Madam, Bai Jinxiu and Su Yunqian to the hospital. As soon as the doctor came out of the emergency room, Bailey's family members anxiously surrounded him. Old Madam asked anxiously, "Doctor, how is Xiaoyi?" "Old Madam, little young master's injury is not serious. It's just a slight concussion. He will wake up soon." "Thank God, thank God." Old Madam clasped her hands together and murmured. Bailey Han's face relaxed. "Doctor, it's been hard on you. Young master, this is what I should do." After the doctor left, Bailey Yi's family members, of course Bailey Han, of course. Seeing his son lying quietly on the bed with a pale face and a slight frown on his handsome face, Bailey Han's heart tightened. Old Madam burst into tears and held his little hand. No matter how her family members persuaded her, she insisted on staying by Xiaoyi's side and waiting for him to wake up. Su Yunqian stood by Bailey Yi's bed and comforted him softly at the right time. Bai Jinxiu said warmly, "Han, you and Yunqian should go back and rest first. You will have to work hard tomorrow. Old Madam and I will stay in the hospital tonight." Bailey Han looked at his son and said calmly, "Cancel the wedding first." "What?" Bai Jinxiu's eyes widened in shock. "Han, do you know what you're talking about?" Su Yunqian couldn't believe her ears. She widened her beautiful eyes and looked at Bailey Han, waiting for his explanation. Bailey Han's gaze swept across everyone present calmly and he said indifferently, "Mom, you didn't hear wrong. I want to cancel the wedding. Yunqian, I'll take you home first." With that, he turned to leave. Su Yunqian grabbed his arm and said in a trembling voice, "Han, why? Why do you want to cancel the wedding? Is it because Xiaoyi is injured?" Bailey Han suddenly turned around and stared at her with his deep and sharp eyes. His thin lips were tightly pursed, as if he was restraining himself. After a long while he said in a cold voice, "Yes, Xiaoyi is injured. As his father, I can't abandon him at this time." Su Yunqian's grip on his arm gradually tightened. Her beautiful eyes were covered with a layer of mist. She bit her lip and said pitifully, "Han, let's postpone the wedding. Don't cancel it, okay? When Xiaoyi recovers, we'll hold the wedding, okay?" She was so compromising that even Bai Jinxiu couldn't stand it anymore. "Han, Yunqian is right. If we suddenly cancel the wedding, what will everyone think of the Bailey family? Why don't we postpone it?" Old Madam Bai also spoke. "Han, why do you want to cancel the wedding?" Bailey Han's face was gloomy and his eyes were filled with complicated emotions. He didn't say the reason but pushed Su Yunxian's hand away and said coldly, "It's getting late. I'll take you home." Without saying another word, he turned around and left. Su Yunxian forced a smile and said goodbye to old Madame Bai and Bai Jinxiu. When she walked out of the hospital, Bailey Han was already sitting in the car waiting for her. He didn't open the car door for her as usual. She opened the door herself and got in. With a cold face, he didn't say a word and started the car. Outside the car window, the night scene was gorgeous. She looked at his perfect side profile. "Han, why did you cancel the wedding? I want to know the reason." Screech. With the sharp sound of the brakes, Bailey Han suddenly stopped the car by the side of the road. His thin lips were tightly pursed, indicating that he had tolerated it to the extreme. He stared at her with his cold eyes. Xiaoyi rolled down the stairs. It wasn't an accident, was it? Her heart tightened, but her face revealed a startled expression. "Han, what do you mean by this?" Little Wingzy accidentally rolled down the stairs. His eyes were filled with pain. "You're still lying to me. I heard your conversation with Xiaoyi." "Is it because Xiaoyi knows that you're in contact with Godfather that you're so cruel to him?" "Han, how can you say that about me? Am I that kind of cruel and merciless person? I like Xiaoyi, and I want to be his mommy. How can I treat him like that?" Su Yunxian complained with tears in her eyes. "Han, so you've never believed me. You must think that Mika Keto is right, and that I'm the mastermind behind the murder of Xiaodong, right?" She looked like she was about to cry, and his heart softened for a moment. However, when he thought of what his son said and the dangerous moment when he rolled down the stairs, he couldn't help but doubt it. "Yunxian, cancel the wedding first. I need to calm down and think carefully." He looked at her and said word by word, "Xiaoyi is very important to me. I hope that the woman who marries me is sincere to him." Su Yunxian smiled miserably. "I understand. In your heart, your son will always be the most important, right? No matter what I do, you won't believe me. 6 years of feelings in your heart, what is it worth?" Bailey Han gripped the steering wheel tightly and said slowly, "I love you, and I love Xiaoyi." Whether or not Yunxian pushed him down the stairs on purpose, everything would be revealed when Xiaoyi woke up. The moment his son rolled down the stairs, his heart almost stopped. His son was a part of his life. As a father, he was no longer a good father. He couldn't be selfish anymore. He wanted his son to grow up healthily and happily. He knew that his son didn't like Yunxian, but he deliberately ignored it. As a result, today's incident happened. It was time for him to think clearly. Bailey Han, the CEO of Shenghao Corporation, canceled the wedding and became explosive news. However, it was quickly overshadowed by another piece of news. That was Su Xingchen broke into the house and threatened to kidnap someone. At the same time, he deliberately hurt someone and threw acid at them. In the end, he ended up with a disfigured face. Xiaodong didn't know what methods Mika Keto used to expose Su Xingchen's kidnapping and threatening of Liu. She was sent to prison. Of course, Lu Xing disfigured her face, so it was justified as self-defense. Xiaodong also saw the news of Bailey Han canceling the wedding. Although the parties involved didn't mention the reason, she guessed that it was because Su Yunxian's hand was injured and couldn't hold the wedding as scheduled. She didn't think much about it. That day, she asked the director to resign. The director was shocked and talked to her for a long time. When he found out that she was leaving to treat her daughter, he had no choice but to agree to her resignation. On the other hand, Mika Keto had already prepared the procedures to go abroad. She also arranged the company's affairs. She was waiting for Xiaodong to finish the handover. Then the two of them would take the children to Rome. Xiaodong explained the situation to Yi Siki and took the children to her aunt's house to say goodbye. After hesitating for a long time, she said, "Aunt, I plan to take the children to Italy. It will take about 9 months before I return to China." "Why do you suddenly want to go to Italy? Did something happen?" Because she deliberately hid it, Xiaoyan didn't know what happened during this period. She didn't know about Xiao Guai's illness and thought that she was just suffering from anemia. Xiaodong smiled. "No, Aunt. Didn't I tell you before that I found a foster father in Italy? He's not in good health and misses the children. So, I'm taking the children to stay with him for a while. Xia Yun patted her forehead. Look at my memory. I remember now. How's his health? Is it serious? It's an old illness. It's not serious, but he needs to recuperate. He doesn't have any relatives, so I want to take care of him for a while. Xia Dong felt guilty when she lied to her kind aunt. I see. Go ahead then. Your uncle and I are still healthy. Don't worry. Xia Yun smiled kindly, and was very supportive of her actions. I heard you say that when you were in Italy, he helped you a lot. Now it's only right for you to accompany him. Thank you, Aunt. Xia Dong hugged her shamefully. She smiled and patted Xia Dong's back. Why are you thanking me? You're treating me like an outsider. Remember to call me often to let me know that you're safe. You also have to take care of Xiaoguai's health. Xia, when are you leaving? In a week. We'll leave after the handover of the company's affairs. Xia Dong was preparing to go abroad, but she didn't know that she couldn't leave anymore. Welfare Hongcha 866. Chapter 128. Shenghao Group. Bailey Han was gathering his subordinates to deal with the cooperation with the United States when his phone rang. He picked up the phone almost at lightning speed. His voice was low and a little hoarse. Grandma, how is Xiao Yi? Old Madam Han sighed. Xiao Yi is awake, but you should come to the hospital. Bailey Han had been worried about his son when he was working. When he heard old Madam Han's words, his heart jumped again. He hung up the phone and said to his subordinates, We'll talk about the cooperation in the afternoon. Then he took his car keys and left quickly. He drove all the way to the VIP ward. Old Madam Han was sitting by Xiao Yi's bed with red eyes. Xiao Yi had already woken up. He was lying on the bed expressionlessly with his small lips slightly pursed. Grandma. Bailey Han greeted old Madam Han and bent down to touch his son's head. Xiao Yi tilted his head and dodged. Bailey Han sat down and softened his voice. Xiao Yi, do you feel any discomfort? Xiao Yi did not speak. His dark eyes stared quietly at the ceiling as if he did not hear his question. Xiao Yi? Bailey Han frowned. Was his son throwing a tantrum? Don't shout. He can't hear you. Old Madam Han choked. Bailey Han's expression changed drastically. He reached out his hand, ignoring little Wingzi's attempts to dodge, and touched his head. Little Wingzi immediately shrieked like a frightened little beast, his hands and feet kicking around wildly. Ah! Ah! He screamed in horror. His eyes were full of fear, but he did not say anything. Bailey Han's heart sank. He quickly withdrew his hand. His screams gradually faded, and the fear in his eyes slowly dissipated. His bright black eyes became blank and dull. Bailey Han looked at his smart and obedient son suddenly become like this. His heart suddenly ached. Grandma, what's going on? How did Xiao Yi become like this? The old madam looked miserable. Xiao Yi became like this when he woke up. No matter how we called him, he didn't seem to hear us. If we tried to touch him, he would scream and become very emotional. The doctor said that this is a symptom of autism. Bailey Han did not believe that his son would be autistic. He went to the attending doctor's office with an ugly expression. Doctor, my son has always been normal. How did he suddenly become autistic? Mr. Bailey, young master's autism is not caused by hereditary factors. Instead, he suffered a great shock in an accident, which caused the malfunction of his brain cells and affected the function of the brain's nerves to transmit information, which led to autism. Bailey Han's pupils suddenly shrank. Can it be cured? Based on the young master's condition, he is mainly affected by psychological factors. The possibility of recovery is still relatively high, but I suggest that parents don't be too impatient. Relax, get rid of the child's negative emotions, and communicate with him step by step. The doctor talked about a lot of precautions before treatment for autism. Bailey Han listened patiently and asked questions from time to time. In the process of talking with the doctor, his attitude became more positive. He believed that there would be a way to cure his son's autism. But the reality was that Bailey Yi's condition was getting worse and worse. He completely isolated himself in his own world and ignored the people and things around him. he silently did his own things. Sometimes he would draw, sometimes he would play chess with himself, sometimes he would sit in front of the window and stare blankly. Sometimes he would sit there for the whole day. As long as someone wanted to touch him, he would scream like a frightened little beast, baring his fangs and brandishing his claws. With his current condition, there was no way he could go back to school. He didn't even take the final exams. Although Bailey Han cancelled the wedding, which had a certain impact on the Bailey family and the Su family, the Bailey family was busy trying to find a way to cure Xiao Yi's illness. They didn't have the time to pay attention to the outside world. The Su family was different. First, there was the scandal of Su Xingchen. Then, the proud daughter of heaven, Su Yunqian and Bailey Han cancelled the wedding. Although it wasn't as sad as being abandoned, the inside story was enough for the media to speculate for a long time. The Su family's reputation fell to the bottom. Facing the swarm of media, Su Yunqian was indifferent and elegant. Her goddess-like temperament was vividly displayed. Although everyone was still speculating, their attitude towards her was a lot friendlier. She avoided the media and stepped into the hospital. This was the hospital where Su Xingchen was staying. Because Su Xingchen was splashed with strong acid, 20% of his face was severely burned. It was a third-degree burn. After being detained, he applied for medical parole through his connections. Now he was still staying in the hospital. When Su Yunqian went to visit him, Xia Zhenqing was by his bedside. He looked a lot older and the hair on his temples was white. As for Su Xingchen, her entire head was wrapped in gauze, only revealing 2 eyes. Because of the burns on her respiratory tract, she couldn't open her mouth to speak. When she saw Su Yunqian appear at the door of the ward, her eyes were like copper bells. Her gaze was like a sharp blade, fiercely glaring at Su Yunqian. She made a gurgling sound from her throat and raised her hands in agitation, as if she wanted to strangle her. Xia Zhenqing quickly grabbed her arm. Xingchen, don't be agitated. Be careful of your wound. Su Yunqian's eyes flashed with a trace of ridicule. She had a gentle smile on her face. Uncle, I'm here to see Xingchen. How is she now? Xia Zhenqing sighed. Her situation isn't very good. The burns on her skin are very deep. I heard from the doctor that we can only use conservative treatment now. Only when her wound scabs over can we perform skin grafting surgery. Su Yunqian turned her gaze back to Su Xingchen and said gently, Xingchen, you have to listen to the doctor's words and take care of yourself. You'll get better. Xia Zhenqing said guiltily, Yunqian, Xingchen treated you so badly, but you still came to see her. I apologize on behalf of Xingchen. Su Yunqian smiled. Uncle, you're treating me like an outsider. We're family. No matter what Xingchen did, she's still my cousin. Su Xingchen's eyes widened. She wanted to dig a few holes in her body with her gaze. The gurgling sound from her throat also became louder. Su Yunqian held her hand that was grasping in the air and said gently, Xingchen, I know what you want to say. Don't worry, I've already forgiven you. Don't let your thoughts run wild. Take care of yourself and get better soon. Su Xingchen couldn't care less about the piercing pain on her face. She shook her bandaged head. Xingchen, don't be so agitated. I'll visit you again in the future. Su Yunqian thoughtfully patted the back of her hand. She stood up and said to Xia Zhenqing, Uncle, I'll leave first. I won't disturb Xingchen's rest. Yunqian, thank you for visiting Xingchen. Be careful on your way back. Xia Zhenqing walked her to the door. Okay, uncle. You should go back and take care of Xingchen. Walking out of the hospital, Su Yunqian smiled. Han was suspicious of her. He didn't care about her reputation and canceled the wedding. Now he didn't even take the initiative to contact her. She was extremely depressed. Now that she had visited Su Xingchen, she felt much better. Su Yunqian didn't go back to the company. Now that Han was ignoring her, it was better to start with the old madam. She drove to the old mansion and chatted with the old madam for a while. After confirming that Han didn't tell the old madam what Xiao Yi said, she felt much more at ease. Next, she wanted to check on Xiao Yi. She wanted to see how sick he was, and whether he would tell anyone about her. After greeting the old madam, she was led by a servant to Bailey Yi's room. The servant reminded her, Miss Su, the young master hates being touched. Please don't touch him. Su Yinqian nodded. I understand. You can leave first. After watching the servant leave, Su Yinqian locked the door and walked in. Bailey Yi sat in the empty art room. His small body was standing in front of the easel. He held a watercolor pen in his hand and painted on the canvas. Xiaoyi? Su Yinqian approached him and tried to call his name. He turned a deaf ear and didn't respond at all. His hands continued to paint. His bright black eyes quietly stared at the canvas. He was completely immersed in his own world. Su Yinqian walked to his side. When she saw what he had painted, she couldn't help but be shocked. On the large canvas, there were only two colors, black and red. There was not a trace of light in the dark sky, and the ground was covered in the bright red color. A lonely little figure stood between the black and red colors, and the whole picture was shrouded in a strange and frightening atmosphere. Su Yinqian stretched out her hand and pointed at the little figure in the painting. Xiaoyi, is this you? Xiaoyi still didn't say a word. He picked a white watercolor pen and painted on the outline of the little figure. Soon, the white figure became conspicuous at the intersection of the black and red. However, with the overall color combination, it became even more strange. Xiaoyi. Su Yinqian stretched out her hand tentatively. He didn't move and looked at the canvas seriously. Her slender and fair fingers slowly landed on his thin and weak shoulders. Ah! Xiaoyi seemed to have gone crazy. He kicked and hit her violently and scratched her arm with his fingernails. Ah! This scream came from Su Yinqian. There were 3 red scratches on her arm. She quickly withdrew her hand and retreated away from him. What's wrong? What's wrong? Miss Su, hurry and open the door. Hearing the scream, everyone in the villa was alarmed. The servants who rushed over first kept knocking on the door. It's nothing. Wait a moment. I'll open the door right away. Su Yinqian glanced at Bailey Yi, who was still screaming. She tidied her hair and quickly walked forward to open the door. Little young master. The servant wanted to go forward, but he was afraid of disturbing Bailey Yi. He didn't know what to do. At this moment, the old madam rushed over with her walking stick. Trembling, she walked to Xiaoyi's side. She didn't dare to reach out to hug him. She only comforted him gently. Darling, don't be afraid. Great-grandma is here. Add Hongcha 866. Chapter 129. The servant hurriedly brought a chair over and placed it beside Old Madam. Old Madam sat down and looked at Bailey Yi, who was holding his head and screaming. She coaxed him gently over and over again. After an unknown amount of time, little Wingsy finally calmed down. He picked up the paintbrush again and painted on the canvas as if nothing had happened. Old Madam endured the intense heartache and praised him with a smile. Baby Yi is so amazing. The painting is so beautiful. Xiao Yi's small body stood upright like a statue without any reaction. Let's go. Let's not disturb Baby Yi. Old Madam sighed in her heart and stood up with the help of the servant. After walking out of Xiao Yi's room, Su Yinqian followed Old Madam to the living room. Old Madam asked someone to do a simple treatment for her wound. Su Yinqian looked apologetic. Grandma, it's all my fault. If I hadn't caught Xiao Yi that night, he wouldn't have fallen down the stairs and this wouldn't have happened. Old Madam sighed. It's not your fault. Yinqian, why did Xiao Yi suddenly fall ill? Su Yinqian felt even more apologetic. I wanted to communicate with Xiao Yi and see if I could get his attention. I didn't expect him to suddenly scream when I pointed at the painting and praised him. Old Madam said doubtfully, Xiao Yi only gets emotional when others touch him. Are you sure you didn't touch him? I really didn't. I only touched his painting. I didn't expect it to turn out like this. Grandma, I'm sorry. Old Madam frowned. Could it be that Xiao Yi's condition has worsened? What should we do? Su Yinqian said. Grandma, I've asked some doctor friends. They said that it's best to send Xiao Yi to a rehabilitation center. They have professional rehabilitation training that will help Xiao Yi. The old madam also understood that this was a good idea, but Xiao Yi's identity was special. She was worried that it would cause unnecessary trouble. After thinking for a while, she said, "Why don't we hire a psychotherapist to treat Xiaoyi at home?" In the evening, when Bailey Han came back from the company, the old lady told him about her idea. Of course, Bailey Han did not object, but he refused the psychotherapist introduced by Su Yinxian. Before the truth was made clear, he was already on guard against her. After pondering for a moment, he said, "Grandma, don't let Yunqian get close to Xiaoyi in the future." "Why do you say that?" Old Madame's eyes flashed sharply. She was suspicious. He said faintly, "Xiaoyi was too emotional when she saw her. I'm just thinking for Xiaoyi's sake. I don't mean anything else." When he heard Xiaoyi's words on the stairs, he did not tell anyone because he did not want to wrongly accuse a good person. Deep in his heart, he hoped that Xiaoyi's words were false. He also hoped that Su Yinxian had nothing to do with Xiaoyi's accident. In fact, Bailey Han had also consulted many experts and contacted a top psychotherapist. The psychotherapist was called Lin Yi. He was around 30 years old. He was polite and gentle. Every day, he would go to Bailey's old house and treat Bailey Yi for an hour. Lin Yi advised the parents to maintain a fixed time every day to communicate with the child alone. Even if the child did not respond, they should insist on talking to him, or doing something to cultivate his understanding of the outside world. Lin Yi said, "The lack of social skills is the biggest obstacle for an autistic child. Parents should create opportunities for the child to interact with people around him. Young master has many friends in kindergarten. You can invite them to the house as guests. You can also raise some small animals at home so that young master can reduce his fear of social interactions and improve his social skills in the process of raising animals." Looking at his son sitting alone in the corner, Bailey Han's heart ached. He suddenly realized that his son was very lonely. He lacked maternal love since he was young and did not have any playmates of the same age. Although he was young, he had already developed a restrained and calm personality. He would not even show his emotions on his face. After thinking for a long time, Bailey Han called Xia Dong. At this time, Xia Dong had already finished the handover work. Mikakito had also booked the plane tickets for the four of them to fly to Italy. She was packing at home when she suddenly received a call from Bailey Han. She glanced at the children playing in the living room and returned to her room. She pressed the answer button. "Hello, Mr. Bailey." Bailey Han paused and said, "Xia Dong, I want to ask you for a favor." His voice was very sincere. Xia Dong could even imagine his serious expression. "Tell me. If I can help, I will definitely do it." His voice lowered with an imperceptible heaviness. "My son, a few days ago he fell down the stairs." Xia Dong stood up abruptly and asked agitatedly, Is he all right?" Bailey Han rubbed his eyebrows. He was not seriously injured. However, after he woke up, he was diagnosed with autism. The doctor said that it was because of the stimulation that caused his brain cells to malfunction. Autism? Xia Dong sat down on the sofa dejectedly. There was still a trace of panic on her face. "Can it be cured?" "There is a possibility of a cure." Bailey Han spoke conservatively of the doctor's opinion. According to the psychotherapist, it is best to let Xiaoyi interact more with the people around him. Therefore, I want to invite Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai to accompany him at home. Xia Dong held her forehead and was extremely conflicted. Xiaoyi was diagnosed with autism. She was very worried and wanted to accompany him and help him out of his own world. However, she had always protected Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai from the Bailey family. If she really brought them to the Bailey family, would it arouse suspicion? Moreover, with Xiao Guai's current situation, he could be in danger at any time. She did not dare to send her daughter to the Bailey family. Both the palm and the back of the hand were flesh and blood. How should he choose? She did not know what to do. After hesitating for a long time, she asked in a hoarse voice, "Can I find other children?" There was no emotion in his voice. "Xiaoyi doesn't have any friends. If you don't want to, I won't force you." The phone call ended. Xia Dong held the phone and her heart ached. The words "doesn't have any friends" kept echoing in her mind. She could almost imagine how lonely Xiaoyi must be. He had no siblings, no playmates, no mother's love. Even though he was injured, He still armed himself with a cold expression. He was only 4 years old. She bit her fist hard as tears of heartache flowed down her cheeks. Knock, knock. There was a knock on the door. She quickly wiped her tears and forced a smile in the mirror. When she opened the door, she was stunned. Brother Shin, why are you here? Mikakito could tell at a glance that her eyes were red. He frowned. What happened? She invited him in. I'm fine. How about you? Why didn't you go to the office? Mikakito sat down on the chair. I've already settled the matters at the office. I came to see how your luggage is. His deep black eyes landed on her face and he said in a domineering tone. Tell me what exactly happened. Xiaodong knew that she could not persuade him, so she told him about Bailey Han's call and her dilemma. Mikakito did not expect to encounter such a tricky situation before he left. His eyes darkened. He poured a cup of tea and placed it in front of her. Xia, I know that you have always felt guilty towards that child and want to make it up to him. However, you are pregnant now. This is a critical time. I don't want anything to happen to you. I know. Xiao Guai is still waiting for me to give birth to the baby safely. Xiaodong stroked her abdomen and smiled bitterly. But Xiao Yi is also my child. I really can't ignore him at this time. Mikakito's eyes flashed with helplessness. He actually had selfish motives. He wanted to take her away from here and not be involved with Bailey Han. However, fate always played tricks on people. His eyes darkened. Xia, you've already made your decision, haven't you? Xiaodong leaned against the sofa and supported her forehead with one hand. She looked a little tired. Brother Shen, I want to stay and help Xiaoyi cure her autism. She smiled at him. Su Xingchen is already in prison. I don't think anyone will harm me anymore. Mikakito shook his head. This girl was still too naive. She did not know that Su Xingchen had a backer. Otherwise, how could she have planned such a big conspiracy by herself? However, he knew that it was useless for him to say anything. Since she had already made her decision, he could only support her. He frowned and said, Xiao Guai's health is not good. It's better not to let her go to Bailey's house. I'll talk to Xiaobao. Xiaobao and Bailey Yi were sworn enemies. It would be difficult to persuade him to visit Xiao Yi like a close friend. Sure enough, as soon as Mikakito mentioned this matter, the little girl was like a firecracker. She jumped on the bed unhappily. No. Why should I help him? I want to go to Rome. I want to see God grandfather. I don't want to stay here. Mom can't stay here either. His mother was always in danger here. He did not want his mother to take risks for that annoying Bailey Yi. Mikakito rubbed his head. Xiaobao, stop messing around. I know you're worried about your mommy. I'll protect her. Xiaobao pouted. Then what about Sweetie? What about Sweetie? Gigai will also stay in China. When Xiao Yi recovers, we'll go to Italy. Xiaobao disagreed. It was autism. How could it be cured in 2 or 3 days? It seemed that they would not be able to leave in a short period of time. However, how did Bailey Yi, that annoying fellow, contract this disease? Autistic? More like arrogant. Xiaobao, Gigai, be good. Don't make things difficult for your mommy. Alright then. I want to make it clear that I'm not staying for that annoying guy. I'm staying for mommy. I know. You love your mommy the most. Mikakito rubbed his hair in amusement. In the living room, Xiaodong called Bailey Han back. She tried to speak in a calm voice. Mr. Bailey, when do you think it's convenient? I'll send Xiaobao to Bailey's house. Welfare Hongcha 866 that you're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.